I took a trading coach from inconsistent 5k months to generating over 130k USD, and that is tracked revenue in 180 days. We don't even know how much extra we made from the revenue we didn't even track. And all of this with only 3,000 real followers on his Instagram, 9 qualified subscribers on YouTube, and only spending around 3 to 4 hours per day. And here are all the screenshots to prove that. Okay, now I can't reveal this client's identity because we have signed NDAs, so I've just hidden his face and his username and everything else. So look, if you're a coach in the trading niche, business niche, literally any niche, and you're stuck at a certain revenue, or you're just looking to start your coaching business, but you don't really have the roadmap to do so, then please watch this video till the end, because I'm going to share all of this, right? I'm going to share everything we did to help this client generate that kind of money, and you will get a lot of insights regarding how you can do the same for your business. Now, it's important that you watch this video till the end so you can understand the whole thing clearly, okay? If you skip around, you're like, oh, I know this part, so let me just skip around, blah, blah, blah. You will get confused and you will take wrong action, right? And you will get the wrong results, which is something I don't really want. So please watch this video till the end. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really know how long this video is going to be. So if you don't really have the time to watch this completely right now, then just play it in 2x and watch it as much as you can, and then just save it to watch later. Then you can just come back to this whenever you've got time, right? Also guys, shut down all the other tabs and play this video on full screen, because the concepts, the strategies, everything else I'm about to share with you requires your utmost attention, okay? Otherwise you won't understand the goddamn thing, okay? So please stop multitasking and pay attention to this video. And look, if you're someone who can't really sit through a long video which can exponentially scale your business and improve your life, improve the lives of the ones you love, then please stop watching right now. And I say this with utmost respect, okay? Because I don't really want any people who are not hard workers on this channel, right? So please stop watching this video. Please do not come back to my channel. Now, if you are someone who can sit through a long video so you can change your entire life, then keep watching, because I am about to share a whole bunch of source with you. Okay, let's get started. All right, so let me just first give you some context on this client's before state, okay, just so you have an understanding of what he was going through, what he lagged, and then how we exactly fixed it, right? So this was his before state. So he had no clear offer system. He had multiple offers, right? Beginner packages, intermediate packages, advanced packages, all low ticket offers, right? But he didn't really know which one to scale, okay, and how to scale it. So there was no clarity when it comes to the offer. It was extremely complicated, and it added a lot of complexity to his entire operation. Then the second thing was he had no real acquisition system. Before he invested in me, he told me he wasted more than 50k the previous year hiring different freelancers, different agencies to maybe run ads for him, do content for him, and all that kind of stuff. Even after spending 50k on different people, he was still exactly where he started, which was he had no real acquisition system. The only way he was getting clients was through Discord and referrals, right? Now, he was actually a part of different Discords where he used to do some trading classes. So he used to get some clients here and there from that, right? But as you can probably guess, it was not consistent. Then the second way he was getting clients was through referrals. Now, with referrals, it's both a blessing and a curse, right? It's a blessing because word of mouth is the strongest marketing channel, right? If you're getting someone from word of mouth, you don't even need to be good at sales. You can just easily sell them, right? But it's a curse because it's not consistent. It's not predictable, right? You don't have any data around it, right? And with marketing, with acquisition, if you don't have a predictable system, then basically you're just growing your business based on luck, right? Referrals could stop coming anytime. You don't even know how many referrals you're going to get the next month. Let's just be honest, it's just not a real acquisition system. So these were his two main acquisition mechanisms, right? And as you can guess, he was not getting clients consistently at all, right? Now, the third thing he was missing was a sales framework, right? So he would just go into calls thinking he was Jordan Belfort, and then he would just lose a sale, because the thing he would do on sales calls was hop on calls, do some introduction, ask people where you're from, you know, how's the day been, you know, something that all salespeople do. And then he would just get into explaining the program, its features. Are you going to get these many calls? You know, you're going to get this course, you're going to get this community, blah, blah, blah. So he had no sales framework in place, which is why he was losing a lot more sales than making them, right? And then lastly, he had no tracking system in place. Like, he had no idea about the numbers inside his business. He didn't know what his cost per call was. He didn't know what his cost per sale was. He didn't know what his cost per lead was. He wasn't tracking anything. He didn't know what his appointment booking rate was. He didn't have any idea about any of those numbers because he was not tracking anything. And guys, if you're not tracking anything, if you don't have data around your acquisition and other things, which I'm going to talk about in this video, you're basically just moving blind, right? You're moving based on hunches, and building a business based on hunch, dude, that's a fucking scary move to make. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's just not how it works. You need to have data, right? So he was lacking all of these things, which just means he lacked the right infrastructure. Okay, so just think about it, guys. If you want to get to from the US to, let's say, France, you can go there by many different ways, right? You can go there by walking. I don't even know how long that's going to take, but you can get there. You can get there by walking. You can probably get there by car. I don't even know you can get there by car. Let's just say you can, right? And then lastly, you can get there by taking a flight. You will obviously get to your destination one way or the other, right? But it's all about having the right infrastructure to get there. So you can get there easily, you can get there fast, and with peace of mind, actually. So basically, if you go there by walking, it's going to take you way more effort, right? Extreme amount of effort, extreme amount of pain, extreme amount of time and money. But if you go there by flight, you can get there easily, like probably in a couple of hours, right? With a lot less money spent if you look at the entire time frame, and with peace of mind. So, aka, if you have the right infrastructure, you can get to your destination way faster. Similarly, he wanted to get to 20, 50, 100k months. Now, he didn't really have these things, right? Which was making it extremely hard to scale for him. Because he lacked the right infrastructure, he always used to get stuck in doing one or the other thing, right? He used to get some clients, then he just fell off. It was just constantly that cycle he was stuck in. So he was lacking the right infrastructure, okay? So guys, the things that got you to your 5k per month mark, the 10k per month mark, are not the same things that will get you to your 50k per month goal. That's just not how it works. You need to upgrade your tools, right? So for example, you play games. I mean, I hope you don't play them quite regularly because that's just ruining your focus. But let's say you play games, right? Now, the tools, the weapons you'll use at level 1 are not the same weapons you'll use at level 50, right? Because probably the monster is more powerful at that level, right? So you need to have the right tools inside your arsenal so you can defeat the monster, right? This is exactly what it means inside your business as well. If you want to get to a certain goal, right, you need the certain tools, you need the right infrastructure according to that goal, so you can actually get there. This is exactly what we did. But what was this absence of right infrastructure causing him? He was stressed as hell because he was doing literally almost every single thing inside his business. So he was stressed as hell, and he also wasn't making revenue consistently, right? So he was making roughly 5 to 7-ish k per month inconsistently. And when you don't know how much you're going to make next month, you stress. You're obviously stressed. And then lastly, he was a prisoner of his own business because he didn't really have the time to focus on his personal life because he was working too much, right? He was working 8, 10, 12 hours a day sometimes, and he had no personal life at all. Like, he couldn't really travel that much. He couldn't really, focus on other things, etc. So he was a prisoner of his own business. And most of you watching this are probably in the same situation. You're working too much, but you're still making little, and you're basically like a prisoner of your own business. You didn't really start this business to be a prisoner, yeah? You started this business to be a CEO or to have a lot of freedom in your life. But because of your current infrastructure, because of your current skills, you are in exactly the opposite situation of that, right? But don't worry, we're going to fix that today. So he was lacking the right infrastructure, but after we implemented these 9 steps I'm about to walk you through and installed the right infrastructure. So let me just go over the 9 steps real quick. So first one is offer recreation, 100k funnel, then the IG and YouTube ecosystem. This is banger. Like, I'm gonna give you pure sauce in this one, yeah? The low-cost ads, team build-out, appointment setting framework, show-up system, sales system, tracking and optimizing. These were the 9 steps we implemented. And after we implemented these 9 steps, he was happier than ever because he was seeing his business grow without his input. Imagine doing that without doing almost anything inside your business. Right? That's called true freedom. So he was happier than ever. He generated more than 130K, right? And most coaches don't do that. Most coaches, okay? There are a lot of coaches in the space at the moment, but most coaches don't make that kind of money in this amount of time. He generated more than 130K USD and traveled 4+ countries as he had a lot of free time. This is what it actually means to run a successful coaching business. The one where you actually have the time to do the things you love while making a lot of money in the back end. And this is exactly what we were able to achieve for him. All right, so now let's go over each step in detail, starting with offer recreation, okay? Now, why did we actually start with offer recreation, right? So here's why we started with this, because simply it's the foundation of every single thing we do inside your business, right? Marketing, sales, fulfillment, hiring, literally every single thing is based on the offer, right? So if we are not starting with this, we're basically not starting with the foundation, right? So here's an example to explain this even more clearly, right? So let's say you're building a house, right? So this is concrete, right? And this is the house. So you always build the house on the concrete. So in this scenario, your offer is the concrete, and then questions and stuff like, what's going to be my marketing strategy? What's going to be my sales career? How will I fulfill my clients? What tools will I need? Who will I need to hire? What skills should they have? Like, all these questions can only be answered if you have your offer created first, right? Because if you don't have your offer created, how will you answer what's going to be your marketing strategy? Because it just depends on your offer, right? If you are creating an offer that's priced at 10K, it's going to have a different marketing strategy compared to an offer that's priced at $100. Yeah. So this is why it's important to first create the foundation and then work on all the other things. Yeah. So that's exactly what we did, right? Because your offer at the end of the day dictates every single thing. And if you change the offer, guys, this is an important note. If you change the offer, you got to change the entire machine, because basically you're just changing the foundation, and that means you're going to change all the things created on that foundation. So you can create something that's suited for that specific foundation, if that makes sense. Yeah. And this is why, right? This is why do not have multiple offers. Just don't have that. Unless you're making like 200K, 300K a month, you don't really need multiple offers. A lot of people make this mistake of having multiple offers too early in their businesses, and they just add too much complexity, and which causes them to make these types of mistakes like, my client did, right? But before I tell you these mistakes, let me just explain how his offer looked like before. So you had 3 membership offers, yeah, and 1 high ticket offer. So the membership offers were priced at $97 a month, 120, 150, right? And the high ticket offer was 5K for 1 whole year, right? And this was a back end offer. So basically he would market these 3 offers in the front end, and then when someone would get in, he would just, sell them on the 5K offer. And in these offers, he was offering one-on-one access, group coaching, course, community, etc. Because that's just the common thing to do, right? Most people just keep offering the same thing and expect people to buy, which is not really the case. And I'm going to tell you how to fix this in just a minute. But yeah, he was offering these typical 4 things that everyone offers. Now, here's the problem with this approach. So he had a very messy fulfillment because he had to make different processes for delivering results for each package. You're not going to get the same type of people in the $97 per month package compared to the people you get in for the 5K package. Yeah, you're going to have different types of people. And because you're getting different people for different types of packages, you need to make different processes for delivering results for all these different people. So can you kind of see how complex this made his entire fulfillment process, right? And it was not just his fulfillment process, it was also his acquisition process, right? So you had diluted focus because he had to make new systems for each ICP. Just like I said here, the people for the 5K offer will be different from the people for the $97 per month offer. And you can't sell a 5K product the same way you sell a $97 per month product. Yeah, it's just an entire different marketing and positioning strategy. So he again had to create new systems for each ICP tailored to their problems, their beliefs, their objections, everything. And then he was having retention issues. This is the biggest problem with low ticket offers. You've got retention issues. And this is why a lot of SaaS companies, they have to invest tons of money in their product because it's just, again, a low ticket monthly subscription product. They have to invest a lot of money in marketing and product development till they get it right. I'm assuming that most people watching this don't have that kind of millions of dollars of budget, and you don't even have the will to waste tons of money before making a profit. Yeah. So considering that, if you're running a low ticket offer, you should just stop doing it because it's just a waste of time, right? You can easily charge high ticket prices, and I'm going to show you how. I'm going to also show you how you can actually sell this offers perfectly. So he had retention issues. People would, basically just get everything from his low ticket offer and just leave within 1 to 2 months, which also decreases LTV, which is lifetime value of a customer. So this not only makes you less profit, but it increases the stress levels because you have to kind of work on how am I going to retain this person, why is everyone leaving, and all that kind of stuff, which causes a lot of stress in my opinion. Yeah. And then lastly, it was slow and hard to scale, right? Because he was making low margins, right? Because his pricing was $97 per month, $120 a month. Like, how much can you even expect to make profit in that pricing, right? So his margins was extremely low, right? Then he couldn't run paid ads because of those low margins. So there was one problem, and because of that, he had to face another problem, right? So basically, he wasn't able to run paid ads, which means he was just not able to scale his business as well. Yeah, so he was just stuck in this cycle. And guys, this is the harsh reality of scaling low ticket offers. They only work if and only if you have a large distribution base, right? So think about, all these influencers. Like if you've got a large following, let's consider Jake Paul as an example. So with this energy drink Prime, he was able to make a shit ton of money, like a shit ton of money at the time of the launch. And I'm pretty confident he's making a lot of money as of now as well, right? Why? Because he had a large follower base. But most people watching this video, you don't have that. Yeah. And you know what? Even after you've got tons of followers, even then you need a high ticket offer in the backend to make profits sustainable, right? You might get profits for like 1-2 months, but then of course, churn starts to kick in and people get more familiar with everything, and you might even start to get bad reviews, which will also lead to low sales and everything else, right? So sales starts to decline obviously after the launch period. Yeah, so you need to have a high ticket offer in the backend to make sure that the profits you're going to make from your low ticket offer are sustainable as well. Okay, so this is the first situation. And the second situation is if you have a large amount of capital. So you can burn money on ads and marketing like SaaS companies. If you look at any SaaS company, literally almost everyone, right, before the era of AI, and even now, right, they spend a lot of money on testing because with low ticket offers, it's like you're not, even if you, let's say you spend $100 on ads, yeah, and if your monthly subscription is also $100, and let's say you get only one sale after spending $100, so basically that's a 1x ROAS, right? And that is extremely low. You won't be able to scale sustainably with that kind of ROAS, yeah. Okay, so this is a second option, right? If you've got a large amount of capital or if you've got a large distribution base, right, you can run low ticket offers on the front end. Or, right, this is what we do and we suggest all our clients do. You use them as downsells, okay? Instead of pushing them in the back end, sell them when the person disagrees to buy your high ticket offer. And in that situation, your high ticket offer also acts like a price anchor because you present something at a very high rate. And then when you tell people that, oh, you can get this, of course it's a different thing, but you can get this for 10 times less the price. Most people in those situations will say yes. Okay, so they are good as downsells, but guys, I would not suggest you to do low ticket offers on the front end unless you're making a shit ton of money already with your high ticket offer. Like that just doesn't make sense. It's going to require you to spend a lot of time, effort and money, and you're still going to get way better results with a high ticket offer on the front end. Okay, so yeah, this was his offer, right? And these were the problems. And here's how we fixed his broken offer system. Okay, we created what I like to call a premium hybrid offer, and it's not like your regular offers, it's a hybrid offer, right? So what is a premium hybrid offer? So it's a mix of done with you plus done for you, right? Now, most people in the coaching space have similar offers, right? Coaching, one-on-one calls, and a community, right? So how is this different from usual offers in the market? So like I said, most coaches have an average coaching offer, which has these things, and this looks like everyone else, okay? And only 20% of people are actual action takers, right? If you look at all your customer base, all the leads you've got and everything else, right? You'll notice that a very small amount of people actually act on the information you give them, right? And what is coaching, right? What is coaching? Coaching is basically giving information to someone about the thing they don't know, right? And then just teaching them constantly to, help them solve it. That's basically coaching in simple plain English, right? And only 20% of people actually take action on the information you give to them, right? Because just imagine, like, if a large amount of people actually took action on the advice you gave them, just think about how many more people would be successful, right? In whatever problem they're trying to solve. Just think about it. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Only 20% of people on average take action, which also makes your coaching program get people average results. It's not your fault, it's the people's fault, but as a result, like, that makes your coaching program average, yeah? But if you add done for you elements inside your offer, it helps you capture the rest 80% of the market, which are non-action takers as well, okay? Because look, for action takers, you don't really need to have done for you systems because they're going to take action anyway, right? But like I said, majority of people don't take action. So for those people, if you've got action taking systems, then it's going to massively increase the value of your offer. It's going to bring them better results. And as a result of these two things, you're going to get way more clients and make more money. And your program will actually be positioned as something helpful and not an average program. By adding done for you elements, you capture the 80% of the market, get people better results, and as a result, like I said, make more money, right? Now, you might be thinking, Divyansh, like, won't that consume more of my time? Yes, it will. And this is why you need to create plug and play versions of done for you elements. Okay, what do I mean by plug and play versions? A plug and play done for you element is something that you don't really have to spend a lot of time in creating and optimizing for each person you offer this element to. Okay, so for example, at our company, we write VSL scripts for our clients, right? Now, after writing hundreds of VSLs, we found a winning VSL formula. Okay, now previously we used to have different structures for different types of people, but now after creating so many VSLs, we've found the perfect winning VSL formula, right? So now we've basically created an AI that writes the VSL based on that formula for our clients, which saves us a lot of time and effort, right? So this is why, because we can save a lot. We are basically actually saving a lot of time by adding this done for you element inside our business. Usually what happens is we need some information from clients, and then as soon as we get that, we just use the AI to create the VSL, okay? So this helps us save time, and this also helps us offer a done for you element. So you kind of get an idea of the type of done for you elements you can create, right? But guys, keep in mind, sometimes done for you elements will still require a bit of time and effort on your end, at least at the start, But at the end of the day, if you look at it, it actually helps you deliver a bigger transformation. And that's exactly what you're competing on in today's day and age. Because look, there are tons of different coaches out there, right? Tons of different offers out there, right? So your prospect has a lot of options, and he's only going to choose the option that's going to make the most sense for him, right? That's going to make him the most amount of money. That's going to be the most value for his buck, right? Your prospect is only going to choose that offer. Right? So it's your job to actually offer something so good that prospect actually feels stupid saying no to. Yeah? So this is exactly why you need to add some sort of done for you elements inside your offer. Elements that don't require a lot of your time whenever you need to implement the done for you element, but still helps your prospect achieve the desired result. So yeah, that's what a premium hybrid offer is. And with our client, this was the premium hybrid offer. Again, I can't reveal all the details, but we had a premium hybrid offer and we priced it at 5.2K for 90 days. Remember, his previous offer was 5K for 1 whole year, right? We actually did it for just 90 days and actually increased the pricing by $250. Now, the benefits of this was easy fulfillment, because we had to only make one process, right? Because we only had one offer, right? With just all his low ticket offers. So we only had one high ticket offer that was priced at 5.2k for 90 days. And you know, when I first told him that we're going to do this offer, he was like, man, I don't believe anyone will buy this offer because I've been offering at 5k for 1 year. Why the hell are people going to pay me 250 extra, and that too for just 90 days? He was quite skeptical about this offer, but after we implemented the marketing and the sales systems I'm about to show you, he was like shocked because we were selling to so many people. Like I remember we made like, I don't know, 10 to 15 sales in just 1 week. And guys, we were only able to do that because of how we actually positioned everything, how our marketing system was. It wasn't just one thing, okay? Creating the offer is just one step, right? You have to have all the other things in the back end to support and sell that high ticket offer. And don't worry, I'm going to show you everything. Like this video is full of sauce, okay? But yeah, on to the benefits of this offer. So he had easy fulfillment because we had to create only one process, right? Because everyone had the same problems, right? That's the beauty of having just one offer. You don't have complexity in your business anymore, right? And this also attracted better clients because look, if you're going to price something at 5.2k compared to something at 150 bucks, you're of course going to attract better people for 5.2k, right? Because these people actually have the money to invest with you, right? Now, the second thing it unlocked for him was laser focus because we had one offer, one marketing strategy, one sales framework, which meant less stress and less management overall. Guys, just imagine having a business where you are running everything so smoothly and you're making a shit ton of money without doing much input. Like that's what this offer unlocked for him. And we also saw a 2,580% increase in LTV. Simply because, you know, earlier an average customer stayed for 2 months, paying on an average $194. Now an average customer stayed for 3 months, right? Because the access was 90 days, paying 5.2k. That's a 2,580% increase in LTV, which is crazy, yeah? And that also meant he was making more money in the long term, right? Because guys, look at it. When you have such a high ticket offer, right, you're of course going to attract way less people, right, than compared to the low ticket offer, but you're going to attract quality people, right? And because you've priced it so high, you're going to get better results for people because now you have more money in your bank account to actually use it for bringing better results for people, right? And again, your program has done for you elements and all that stuff. So that means you can obviously deliver better results. And when you get better results, you get more word of mouth, right? You get more customers. And when you get more customers, you make more money. When you make more money, you can use that money to invest in ads. Like this just unlocks a whole bunch of things. Having a high ticket offer is not even an option. It's mandatory to grow a successful coaching business. Okay, you can't get to that level with just a low ticket offer unless you have a lot of money, a lot of followers, or you know, you use it in the back end, right? That's the beauty of your high ticket offer. You can easily achieve those things with way less effort and time, way less. Okay, so the last benefit was actually it was fast and easy to scale. So earlier, 20k per month meant 206 sales. Now, now 20k per month just meant 4 sales, which means he had high margins, high cash flow, and he was able to run ads with ease. So that's the beauty of a high ticket offer. And guys, make sure you create a premium hybrid offer by adding done for you elements, because if you just keep offering the same thing as everyone else, people are going to think of you as everyone else, right? And they're probably not going to buy from you. Okay, so guys, this is the first step we did. We created this entire offer system, okay? But having the right offer was only the first step, okay, to generating 130k plus. If you don't have the right funnel to bring people into this offer, you do, okay? So that's exactly what we did next. All right, so the next step was installing a 100k funnel. And this is what his funnel looked like before. So he had a VSL that didn't really match his personality, right? He was just speaking forcefully, and as a result it also converted way less. In that VSL he had no structure, okay, he had no persuasion, he had no value, and overall very salesy, which is the exact opposite of what a VSL should be. Then he had same structure, and this is a mistake most people make. He had same structure, okay, for organic and for ads. You need to understand lead temperature so that you stop making this mistake. It's basically like, you know, using the same approach to ask out a girl that's known you for 2 years, right? Versus a girl that's known you for 2 minutes, right? You're gonna not use the same approach of both of these girls, right? You're gonna use a different approach because one person has known you for 2 years, the other person has just known you for 2 minutes, right? You're not gonna use the same approach. Similarly, you shouldn't be using the same approach for organic and for ads, right? With organic, most of the times, it's like people have already consumed your content for a while now. And now they're basically just clicking on your profile and seeing how they can work with you, and then they land on your VSL, right? So that VSL needs to be structured differently as compared to ads, right? Where you're mostly running ads for cold traffic. And cold traffic means they don't know you, right? So if person doesn't know you, you're going to use a different approach for them versus the person who does know you, right? But most people make this mistake. I really hope you're not one of them. But if you are, have a different structure for organic and for ads, okay? And then the third mistake was he had no thank you page. People just went back to what they were doing before. Like after they booked a call, they didn't really go to a thank you page, right? They just went back to what they were doing before, which was probably scrolling reels, which is something you don't want to do, right? You need to make sure people are inside your ecosystem, okay? Then he was also running webinars. So he hired a guy from Fiverr and spent thousands on ads, right, to bring people into this webinar. And he had terrible quality leads and terrible show up rates, guys. And he made somewhat money, but then again, no sales after that. These are mostly things which you can't really do consistently if you don't know what you're doing. And if you don't really have content ecosystem in the backend and ads ecosystem in the backend, then running webinars is just gonna bleed you out. Right? That's just the truth. Okay. And then the other thing was he had a poor qualification strategy. He wasn't really qualifying people clearly, right? So he had very unclear questions that didn't really qualify people in his booking form, right? And as a result, he was hopping on calls with people who were unqualified. Because guys, if you're not clear on what you need to ask, then you're just not going to get the right answer. If you want to get qualified people, you need to be really upfront about the criteria that's required for them to qualify, right? If you kind of twist it and if you try to say it in a complex way so that they don't understand, whatever the reason is, then you're just not going to get any clear answers. And when you don't have clear answers, you don't have clear data. And when you don't have clear data, you can't make clear decisions, right? That's an entire cycle. Lastly, he had no conversion mechanism on Instagram at all. He was posting content, but he had no conversion mechanism. Like posting content on social media platforms isn't enough. If you don't know how to convert those followers into sales, then you're basically posting content for no reason. Like what's even the point, right? Do you want to go viral? Okay, sure. But is that going to make you more money? Absolutely fucking not. Right? So you need to have a conversion mechanism on each platform. Then his YouTube channel had no bottom of the funnel videos, right? It was only just top of the funnel videos where he was, targeting very broad segments of people and only basic education videos like how to get a solid win rate in your trading, like, stuff like that, like the basic stuff. Right? He only had those types of videos on his YouTube, no bottom of the funnel videos, which are actually meant to convert people from the top of the funnel or the middle of the funnel. He had no videos like that. And his Instagram profile also looked like everyone else in the trading space. Like literally every single trading coach had that exact same kind of bio, right? So he looked like everyone else. When you look like everyone else, your audience actually notices that. I'm sure you probably know this, but your leads, your prospects are not only following you, they're following your competitors as well, right? And if you all look the same, then how are they going to choose you? Like, why on earth would they go with you? Why would they go with you? Why would they not go with your competitor? Right? This is why, guys, you need to look different. And you not only need to look different, but you need to present differently. You need to deliver value differently. You need to share your unique insights and everything else, right? Now, I'm going to talk more about that in just a minute when we discuss the content ecosystem. But guys, when I saw his funnel structure, like how his funnel was, I remember in that moment, I knew exactly what was missing, right? I literally wrote down everything in my notes and started implementing in just a second, right? And this is exactly what happens when you do something for so long that it just literally becomes your second nature, right? So guys, here's what we did, okay? We installed our proven 100K funnel and here's a bird's eye view of what we did, okay? The reason why I'm not sharing this in in-depth detail is because I've planned a different video for this, right? And if I go over every single thing in super detail, you're just gonna get confused, okay? So keep an eye out on the channel. I'm gonna soon upload a video of our entire 100K funnel, right? But yeah, here's a bird's eye view of this, okay? So it starts with Instagram and Twitter, right? So this is at the top. You know what? Like, we did Twitter for this client as well, but moving forward, we're probably not gonna do Twitter because Twitter is not as effective as Instagram, okay? And we only wanna focus on, maximum 2 platforms at a time, okay? So Twitter did add a bit of complexity, but we did it anyway in that specific moment because we needed sales as quick as possible. That's the only reason to do Twitter. Or if you've got a large amount of following on Twitter, right, you can still keep doing that. Or if your entire customer base is on Twitter, right, entire prospects are on Twitter, not really on Instagram that much, then Twitter should be your primary platform. But yeah, here's what we did on both of these platforms. So firstly, we optimized his profile. Now, when I say optimize his profile, we changed his platform bio. We added things that would make people understand what we can do for them, why should they trust us, and what should they do if they want to work with us. We added these 3 key things. Then his pin post, right? Earlier, his pin post was something that just got the most amount of views, right? So he just pinned those videos on his feed. This is the worst mistake you can make, pinning the top viewed videos. No, if you are pinning a video that got you the most amount of sales or appointments, then that makes sense. But the video that got the most views, that doesn't really make sense, okay? That's good for content creators, but guys, we are business owners. We're not content creators, right? So this is why you need to have a strategic approach when pinning posts. This is why we created 3 different pin posts for him. First pin post represented his story, like how he got to where he is today, how he made millions with trading and all that stuff. Then the second pin post was results, the results he brought for himself and the results he brought for his clients, right? And then the third pin post was his mechanism, like how exactly he brought those results. And with all these pin posts, okay, people would either DM him, ask him like how he did that, or DM him a specific keyword that we had in the pin post, in the caption, or they would just comment. And then after they commented, they would just get into our DM funnel, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But yeah, that's how it worked, right? I forgot to actually explain what happened with the bio. So we added a link to his WSL funnel in his Instagram bio. From there, people would just go to the WSL page, from there, the booking page, and then the thank you page easily. Like, we were booking so many calls just from the bio, right? Most people in their bio links, they have some link trees with a bunch of different profiles. Guys, that's absolutely dog shit. Like, if you want to make sales, if you want to book appointments from your profile, you need to have a booking page. You need to have a WSL funnel linked in your bio, okay? Period. Nothing else. WSL funnel, right? Or you can have what I do, WSL funnel and your YouTube channel. Like, if someone doesn't really want to directly work with you, right, after landing on your profile, they just want to, know more about you, like know more about what you do, then they can just simply go to your YouTube channel, right? So this is what I like to do personally, have the YouTube channel link and the work with me link, where it just redirects people to the WSL funnel. And guys, remember, have a different structure for WSL, for organic and for ads. So the WSL you're going to have for organic here is something you're going to paste in the WSL page for the platform bio, okay, not the ads one. Remember that. That was the second thing, the pin post. Then the third thing was his highlights, right? So earlier, his Instagram highlights were not really meant for sales, right? They were just meant for personal life. He was traveling somewhere, like he made a highlight of that. And it wasn't really something that's going to convert people. We still need to have that sort of personal touch in the highlights by, showing your personal lives and stuff like that. So this is why we had a separate highlight called life, okay? In which we basically just added all the things, right? All the things that were related to his life. Because guys, people don't just invest with you because you've got a good offer. They invest with you because they like you as a person. Just think about it. Like, if you didn't like someone, you just liked what they offered, would you invest with them? Compared to someone whose offer is really good, but you also like the person, you would obviously go with the second person simply because you like them. We don't really invest in things that we don't like, do we? So the same principle applied here. The whole point of having a life highlight was to show his life, okay? And I'm not talking about showing Lamborghinis, Rolexes and stuff like that. Like, my client is actually the exact opposite of that, right? He wants to show his education and not his, flashy lifestyle. And this is a very important thing when you're selling high ticket offers, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute when discussing about the ecosystem of content. Okay. But yeah, we had a live highlight, then we had a results highlight in which we added all the stories related to the results we were posting on his Instagram, right? All his client results, all his personal results, everything was posted on Instagram and put it in one big highlight. And we didn't really have only one highlight for results. We had like 5 highlights, 5 full highlights of results. Like just imagine someone is landing on your profile and then they see 5 highlights fully filled with results. Like that's just going to make them instantly trust you, right? Probably they're going to watch 1 or 2 YouTube videos after that, and then they're probably going to book a call if they're action takers, right? So this is why having results highlights is extremely important. Okay, now the third type of highlight we added actually was a YouTube highlight, which I forgot to add right here, but we did add a YouTube highlight later down the road after we had posted like 4 or 5 videos. We had a YouTube highlight, so people who wanted to just learn more about who we are, right, learn more about what we do and stuff like that, they could just go to YouTube and get nurtured from that. So we added a YouTube highlight as well. The goal of these highlights, especially for the results highlight, is to show so many results that it makes them feel FOMO. Like, that feeling when you see people in your same shoes, people who are in the same shoes as you, right, achieve 10 times better results than you. And you see person 1 achieve that result. Then 5 days later, you see person 2. 3 days later, you see person 3, and so on and so forth. It just makes you feel FOMO, like what the hell are they doing, right? It just makes you think that way, right? And that is exactly the goal with the results highlights. We actually share stories of people where they were before investing with my client and where they were after. We literally shared every single detail of their emotions, of their thinking process. So it also solves objections in people's minds. This is why it's really important that you structure these stories really carefully. So we have a lot of different structures that we give out to people in our iOS program. And by the way, you can find more about that by clicking the first link in the description. It's again like a premium hybrid offer, right? So you can learn all about it by clicking the first link in the description if you want to work with us. But yeah, coming back to the video. So the goal of these highlights is to just make them feel FOMO. Okay, this is why you need to have a proper structure when creating these types of stories. Okay, and in future videos, I'm probably going to share some structures with you guys. So if you want that, right, just comment down something like related to you wanting this type of video, and I'll shoot this happily. Okay, showing you all the structures, all the different structures we've got for our clients and overview of them. Of course, I can't show the exact structures, but yeah, I'll try to share as much value as I can. Okay, so after the profile optimization, and by the way, I'm going to talk about the profile optimization in just a minute as well when I discuss the step 3. But yeah, coming back to this, so the second thing we did was adding story sequences. So we posted 2 types of story sequences mainly. First type of story sequence was a sequence where we were giving them the opportunity to work with us. Okay, so the structure for this story sequence was entirely different from the second type of story sequence we did, in which we were offering them a resource. Okay, because guys, when you're offering people a resource, you're naturally going to get shit ton of more people as compared to people you're going to get when you directly ask people, would you like to work with me, right? Now, of course, we were not, asking directly this to people. We were asking them in a different way, but you get the point, right? So these were the 2 types of story sequence we were posting. So this would get us very hot leads, and this would get us warm leads that wanted a resource, and then we would just convert them into clients. So after we offered them a resource, we would actually DM them, and the setter sets them using the appointment setting framework we gave them. Okay, and don't worry, I'm going to talk about how we hire the setter, what type of setting framework we were using, everything. Guys, this is why I told you this video is full of sauce, okay? I'm going to give you all of it. So after the person DM'd us, the setter sets them using the appointment setting framework, and boom, then we just hop on a call and close them, right? So this was the second thing, the story sequences. And guys, if you're not posting story sequences, you're literally losing a shit ton of money. Literally, I'm not even joking, guys. Story sequences is one of the most profitable conversion mechanisms for Instagram. If you do it right, it's going to make you a shit ton of money. Like, I remember we were working with another client back in the days, and surprisingly, he was also in the trading niche from a French market. His IG was dead, kind of dead, and we just posted a story, And that story type was this time, giving them the opportunity to work with us. And we got like 50 people. 50 people. Can you imagine that? 50 hot leads wanting to work with you. Crazy, right? But it's important to not abuse this, okay? If you abuse this, it's just not gonna work. It's just gonna stop working. People get very used to it, so it just stops working, okay? So it's important that you use it wisely. This is extremely powerful. This is why you need to use it wisely, right? The next thing was, oh boy, this has made us the most amount of money. Followers, okay? So we used to get followers from ads and from organic content. And then as soon as we got the followers, that's how I used to DM them using our framework and then just send them using the framework again. We gave them, okay? This was the main revenue generating machine for making over 130K. Like, it was crazy. And most people, I can bet, most people get followers on Instagram, but they don't do anything with it, right? They just expect people to just magically come to them. Guys, you need to understand that people are shy. Even if they need help, they probably won't come asking for it. Okay, so you have to be their savior and go ask them. Okay, you need to start a conversation with them, right? You'll be amazed to see how many people actually want your help, right? After you start reaching out to them. And this is exactly what we did. So imagine you are in a bar, right? There's a girl standing right next to the bar and you want to approach her, but you just wait for the perfect moment so that she probably comes to you. But guys, there's another person who just walks up to her without thinking about, you know, what she's going to think of me and stuff like that. He approaches her. Who do you think is going to take her out? You, the person who's waiting for the perfect moment, the waiting for her to come to you, or the person who just went up to her? Who do you think is going to make the sale? So it's the exact same logic here. You need to approach people. You need to approach people in real life to give them opportunities they don't even know they had. And you need to do the same inside your business. Whenever you get a follower, reach out to them, see if they need help. And I'm going to show you the structure we use to reach out to these people so you can get an idea of what you need to do. And then lastly, it was the hand raiser content. So a lot of people just keep posting content, but it's just normal basic content. You know, they don't really convert people. They get people educated, but educated people don't always convert. You need to just make them raise hands, make them take some sort of action for them to convert. This is why we posted this. So we were posting reels, we were posting tweets in which we would offer them a resource to people that they really, really wanted. And this is key, guys. If you're offering something that people don't really want, you're not going to convert them, period. So it's really important for you to offer the right type of resource, okay? In this content, it would just, you know, get people interested. And this is why we were getting interested leads. All the people who commented, those were interested in what we were offering. That means they were somewhat interested in what we would have to offer. This is why we would get interested leads and not just random leads, which is really, really important point to know. Okay, now from there, what we would do is we would collect their info. We wouldn't just, you know, directly send them the asset. No, we would ask for their emails and then send them the asset. Most people stop it and wait for them to book a call directly. Guys, don't wait for people to make a decision. I mean, with YouTube, let's say if you're posting YouTube videos, you can't do much there because you can't directly reach out to the people who are subscribed to your channel. You can't do that with YouTube. So in that situation, you just have to wait, okay? But with Instagram, right? With all these platforms where you can have conversations with people, take your chances and have conversations, okay? Don't sleep on it, right? So most people stop here, but we didn't. We asked our setters to continue the convo. From there, again, they would just simply set them using our appointment setting frameworks. And let me tell you a quick hack for assets we were offering to people in the hand raiser content. So the beauty of this is no extra effort was required from our end because it was just a YouTube video that we posted. Okay, most people spend a lot of time creating a new resource, you know, designing it and doing all that stuff, but we didn't because we didn't have to, you know. We already posted YouTube videos as lead magnets, okay? But we would only show it to people after we have posted them and they have been sitting around on YouTube for like a couple of days. We would then start promoting the YouTube video in the reels. We wouldn't say like, I just posted this YouTube video, so if you want to watch it, blah, blah, blah. No, we wouldn't talk to people in that specific way. We would just tell them, if you've got this resource, we've got an entire detailed video breaking down every single goddamn thing. Do you want it? Yes. Okay, there you have it, right? So no extra effort was required. So if you're also creating this type of content, you don't have to create extra resources. Just use the ones you already have. Now talking about YouTube, right? So guys, YouTube is basically the backbone of this entire thing. If you're not doing YouTube perfectly here, it's just not going to work, because you can't really convert people for high ticket offers with just a bunch of reels. Like, that just doesn't work like that. People need to know you for some time in order to invest with you, right? In fact, there's a study that shows that people need to spend at least 6 to 7 hours with you before making a decision, right? So 6 to 7 hours worth of content is basically thousands of reels, right? But with a YouTube video, you can just do it with like 7 1 hour long videos, right? Of course, you can convert people before they even reach 7 hours worth of content, because we did it, so you can do it too. But you need to have at least some sort of content on YouTube. And remember when I told you that he had no bottom of the funnel content on his YouTube? So this is what we fixed here, right? We created 4 to 5 different bottom of the funnel videos in which basically the goal was to convert people. We weren't trying to attract new people on YouTube. And when we were posting these videos, we were just trying to convert the people who land on the channel from the other videos we've posted. Then they would just watch these videos and book an appointment. Okay, that was the point of creating this bottom of the funnel assets, right? Other thing that people would do after landing on a channel was maybe check our YouTube bios, right? And again, the YouTube bios were structured the same way the Instagram bio was structured. Okay, so you need to follow the same formula on every single platform. I'm going to show you what that formula is in just a minute. Right now, after they finished watching the videos, they would probably just go into the comment section and see the comments and stuff like that, right? And that's why we make the move of having pinned comments, right? In the pinned comments, we would tell people, oh, look, if you're struggling with X, Y, and Z and you would like to get help with this, then book a call here. Right? So basically what this does is it gives them the opportunity to book a call at every touch point. We have the booking call link in the YouTube bio, in the pinned comment, in the video description. So basically you want to give your clients, not your clients, but your prospects as many chances to book a call. Okay? Because when they see something repeatedly, they're going to eventually end up booking a call, right? Which is something that we want. And this is why it's important to give them the opportunity to book a call at every touch point. Now, with the bottom of the funnel video assets we created, we would easily build instant trust as soon as someone landed on our channel. So just like on Instagram, we had Instagram highlights, and whenever people would land on our Instagram profile, they would just see these highlights. They would see the results we brought for people, like 5 different highlights, completely filled with results. It will build instant trust and increase authority. Same with YouTube. So we would have similar assets on YouTube, which would build instant trust and authority. Because guys, you need to understand that if you don't have these types of videos on your channel, you're not going to convert people. You can't just make people book a call by offering value. No, you need to have conversion mechanisms on each platform to convert those people. And when I say conversion mechanisms, I also mean conversion related content. Okay, so definitely create bottom of the funnel videos, which is your case studies, your person case studies, and all those types of videos. So yeah, this was the bird's eye view of a 100K funnel. So this is something that we did implement for him, but we also wrote him a 25-minute VSL in the funnel we just created, right? Using a proven structure that's generating more than hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then we also added humor to match his personality. As you know, these videos, right? Let me just pull this thing up, right? Because the thing is, with these videos, you need to make sure that they sound natural, right? Not scripted, okay? And that can only be achieved if they match your personality, okay? So as you can see, we added a bit of humor in this video, which was a VSL, right? So, well, my name is Diddy. Oh, no, my name is Sam. I'm just another dude on the internet who's trying to sell you another overpriced trading course. Guys, think about how many people actually start this way with their videos. They don't. Right? They always start with, hey guys, my name is XYZ, and in this video, blah, blah, blah. No, don't do it like that, okay? Add some pattern interrupts, okay? Make it funny, okay? Add humor. Just do anything that relates to your personality. So this is what we did for this client. The second thing we did was having different structure for organic and for ads. Because here's the thing, guys. With organic and with ads, you need to follow a completely different approach. So for example, you need way less trust with organic, you need way less persuasion organic, and then you need way less retention techniques when it comes to organic, right? Reason being, these people have already watched your videos a lot of times, right? So they are already nurtured. But people with ads are not nurtured, right? They're still cold. They know you for like 10, 15 minutes, right? So obviously they're not going to be that nurtured. This is why you need more trust, more persuasion, and more retention techniques. This is why you need to have different structures for ads and organic, not only in just the VSL, but in your opt-in page copy, in your VSL page copy, in your booking page copy, in your thank you page copy. Everything needs to be tailored according to the lead temperature. Different for cold traffic, different from warm traffic, different for hot traffic. Okay, now the third thing we did was added a thank you page with a thank you video. This is extremely important. You need to have a video on this page, so it makes them kind of feel like you're talking to them, right? So we had a personalized video in which he would just, address people for booking a call, like congratulate them and stuff like that. And what it did was it re-looped people into the funnel, okay, which is extremely important, because when someone books a call with you, they can get what I call the lead remorse, right? There's buyer's remorse, but there's also lead remorse, which is something I came up with. And what it essentially means is they would just find reasons to not hop on a call with you because they've got something to do, or they would just hop on a call but still be cold and stuff like that, right? So you need to make sure that people are nurtured enough before even hopping on a call with you. Okay, you make them book a call, but now it's important for you to make sure they're nurtured when they hop on a call with you, so they just end up buying. And I'm gonna talk more about this in extreme detail when I talk about the SHOP system, but just know you need to make sure that people are re-looped into your funnel. Okay, the best way to do this is by hammering them with relevant results and nurture videos. Okay, you create a video on the thank you page where you congratulate them for booking a call. And then as the next steps, right, you just tell them to watch XYZ videos, which are basically relevant case studies and nurture videos, okay? A quick tip for you. So when I say relevant case studies, so what you can do is, so we have got an entire system around this. So what we usually do is, whenever someone books a call, according to the answers they chose on the booking form, our AI and automations, they recommend a specific case study for that person, and then it only shows that on the thank you page. So it's extremely relevant and extremely personalized to their specific situation, right? So for example, if someone told us that they have a lead problem, right, they don't have a lot of leads, then the AI would recommend a video of mine where I talk about how to get more leads, so they can get instant value instantly after booking a call, right? This is exactly what you need to do. Now, the next thing we did was absolutely ditch webinars because it was just adding complexity, not gonna lie. Guys, complexity fails and simplicity scales, okay? Just remember that, and I promise you it will work for you as well. Just ditch everything that's complex and make everything super simple. And at this stage, if you're watching this video, you're probably stuck around 20, 30K or below that. You're not above that. If you are around that mark, you don't need any sort of webinars, any sort of masterclasses, any sort of challenges and stuff like that. All you need is a proper VSL and profile funnel. That is it, right? This is exactly what we install for you in the 100K funnel. The next thing was we designed a new qualification strategy. Remember, his questions were quite unclear back when he was doing everything himself. So what we changed was we added clear questions, okay, to really qualify people. So we added a question like this, okay, which would clearly qualify people. Working with us requires an upfront investment, okay, upfront, which is the important word here, because a lot of people think they can just pay it later down the road, okay? Of course, we've got payment plans, but we don't want people to primarily think that way. Yeah, so this is why we wrote, working with us requires an upfront investment of 1 to 6K, so we can help you make an extra 6 figures in your trading, right? Do you currently have the capital to do that, right? Something like that. And then people will select yes and no. No, instantly disqualified. We will just follow our disqualification process and probably just downsell them and stuff like that, right? But this actually qualifies people. This is a clear question asking if they're qualified. Now, the last thing we did was implemented a wake-up call strategy, which was an absolute game changer. Like, what this basically means is you are re-engaging all the old leads. And guys, most people, okay, including you, most people don't need new leads. They just need better conversion systems to convert their existing leads. He was sitting on so much amount of revenue with his existing leads that I can't even begin to tell. Like, we generated literally 20K revenue in 48 hours just by re-engaging all the old leads. That's the power of the wake-up call strategy. So yeah, guys, this is what we did when it comes to step 2, which was installing the 100K funnel. And as soon as the funnel was ready, we needed to bring traffic into this funnel, right? So we started working on creating an IG plus YouTube ecosystem to bring traffic to this funnel, because without traffic, there's no point of the funnel. So moving on to step 3, we have our Instagram and YouTube ecosystem. Before I go over this step, I just want to congratulate you for making it this far, because there are a ton of people who, despite me telling them to stay till the end so they can understand the exact thing, they might have left. But you stayed, so you're going to get the complete thing. You're not going to leave with incomplete information. So congratulations for that, and please, for the love of God, please take action on this stuff I'm sharing with you in this video, because knowledge without action is useless. It's just knowledge, right? But you want the result, so please take action. Now that's it. Let's get into step 3, which is the most interesting step of this entire 9-step process, and the most detailed one as well, right? So why did we create a YouTube and Instagram ecosystem? Simply to bring tons of quality traffic inside the funnel. Right now, to generate tons of quality traffic or leads, we needed to fix 4 things inside his existing Instagram and YouTube. First one was messaging. Okay, now this is the most important one of all the 4 things: messaging and positioning, right? The second one is also important, but yeah, this is the most important one, right? So what is exactly messaging? So a lot of people, you might have also heard a lot of people talk about, oh, you need to have the right messaging and stuff like that. But what even is messaging? Well, at the fundamental level, it's just what you say in your content. Okay? So now here's the problem with the messaging for most people. Most people do not speak to their ICPs, and this is exactly what my client was doing as well. He wasn't speaking to the people he was targeting. He was speaking to all the other people, but not the people he was targeting, right? So for example, he told me he wanted to target, kind of experienced traders and stuff like that. But his content was around basic stuff that beginner traders would like to watch. So his messaging was not suitable for his ICP, right? When I say not speaking to the ICP, here's what I mean, right? So using irrelevant examples and analogies. This is the most common thing people do, and they don't even notice this because example is just an example, right? But if you can create a relevant example according to that situation, then it's just going to work wonders for you. So for example, let's say you're talking about trading, yeah? You're just talking about how people cannot control their emotions and stuff like that. So instead of giving a real life example, like, oh, I was in a pretty bad state and I wasn't able to control my emotions, whatever, right? Give a trading related example, like, oh, so I saw this price move up and in that moment I wasn't able to control my emotions, whatever, right? So just give relevant examples according to the ICP you're targeting. When you give relevant examples and analogies, people feel relatable, okay? They actually relate to you. And relatability is extremely important for you to sell to people. All right. Second point is not using the language they use. Okay. So a lot of people just use jargons and stuff like that most people inside their market are not even aware of. And I'm going to show you like what are some wrong jargons or vocabulary, right? I'm going to show you what those are so you kind of get an idea of why you need to use the right vocabulary for the right people, right? And the third thing he was doing was, like I mentioned before, he was creating very broad content, right? So he wasn't really creating content for his ICP, but rather for everyone. Guys, if you serve everyone, you serve to none. You can serve to everyone as you move forward, but not at the start, right? Not at least when you make, like, you can even do this at the start. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's just going to be way more complex. It's just going to be complicated. Like I told you before, the offer is the foundation of everything, right? And with your offer, you target one specific type of person, right? Not 10 types of people, only one, right? In this one type of person you're going to target, right? You can have multiple segments of these people. So for example, in the trading market, right? You could target people below 20K per month, right? People who are making less than 20K per month with their trading, right? Those are your ideal customers. Now they could be beginner traders. These are different segments, yeah? So beginner traders, unprofitable traders, these are different segments of a specific ICP, right? So that's what you can do, right? Then lastly, he had poor profile optimization. Now, I know we already went over a bit about the profile optimization part, but in this step, I'm going to go into way more detail as well, right? So these were his problems, okay? This is why his messaging was absolutely wrong according to the ICP he was targeting. Now, what was the solution for this? So firstly, just absolute opposite of the problem. Give relevant examples and analogies, right? So let me just give you an example to kind of explain why you need to do that, right? So let's say you're targeting rich people, right? And explaining a calculation. So if you're using rookie numbers like $100 or $500, you instantly signal that you don't understand their world, right? But when you use 100,000, 250,000 portfolios, you're basically showing them that you understand the financial decisions they make, you operate in the same environment they do, aka you're making them relate to you, and you're not teaching beginner stuff. Rich people are not fucking beginners, right? So why would you use that kind of numbers? So people only listen to someone they believe is playing the same game. It is extremely important to know that. Your examples need to match the lifestyle and problems of the people you want to target. You know what this helps with as well? Like this helps you instantly filter your audience as well. Think about it. If you are, talking about $100,000, $1 million numbers, any beginner would kind of find it quite, unachievable and would instantly quit the video, right? Which is the point. If you don't want beginners on your videos, then this is the easiest way to do it. Like talk about the stuff they wouldn't really comprehend, right? So examples are the fastest way to qualify the right people and repel the wrong ones. So if your examples mention funded accounts, scaling to 20K months, hiring setters, only people in that world, like people who know these terms, who can kind of think about them, will lean in, right? Which is exactly what you want. This is why it's important that you use relevant examples according to the people you are targeting, right? And everyone else will probably scroll. And that's good. You want your examples to act like magnets, not blankets, okay? Now, the second thing is to use the language they use, right? So, for example, what you can do is like, we notice, in trading specifically, whenever you use a word client, right? Whenever you use this word, people kind of, repel working with you. I don't know why, what's the psychology behind it, but they don't like the word client. They prefer the word student. Like people feel more relatable. People can relate to you a bit more. People can understand your case studies and everything else when you say them as your student. If you're talking about your results, right? So instead of saying client results, say student results. Then similarly in startups, so like I said, you need to use the language to use. So instead of saying you can generate more profits, right? So if you're pitching to startups, right? If you're a coach helping out startups and you are helping them generate more profits. So instead of saying that, just say generate more bottom line, because that's the language they understand, right? You need to speak their language, right? Now, for example, if you're targeting 50-year-old business owners, right? Use the word industry instead of the word niche, because industry is something that they are more familiar with, right? Niche came after the word industry. If you're targeting these old people, then they would probably be more familiar with the word industry. I'm not saying they won't be familiar with the word niche, but they will be more familiar with the word industry. So you've got to speak their language, yeah? So this is the second thing. Then the third thing is actually creating content around the specific problems, not broad content. If you create content for everyone, you will attract everyone. Is that something you want? If not, create content around their specific problem, because broad content attracts everyone. Specific content attracts specific people, aka your ICP. And the last thing is the profile optimization. The reason why profile optimization is extremely important is because your profile is your prospect's first impression of you, right? And most people have a really bad first impression because they don't communicate these three things with the profile. So what you can do for them, how they can get started, why should they trust you? You need to answer these three things so that they can actually create a good first impression of you. Because if you don't do that, people will click off your profile and go back to scrolling. Is that what you want? No, then do this, okay? Now the goal with your profile is to obviously create the first impression and also get them inside your funnel. Now, how can you actually get people inside your funnel? By making them take some sort of action, right? So from your profile, they should either take any of these three actions, because that's the only three things they can do, yeah? So either they can DM you, right? Either they can follow you or they can comment. If they DM you, then it's super easy. Like you can easily start a conversation. You can train your setters around that and they can set an appointment with you, right? Now, when they follow you, again, you're going to message them, which I told you in the 100K funnel part, and then you can just message them and set an appointment. Now, when it comes to the comments, you can do the same thing. They comment on your specific post. You just message them saying, oh, hey, I saw your comment on my post. Did you like it? Blah, 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 stuff like that. You ask a question, start a conversation, and then set someone an appointment, right? So you can actually make people take these 3 actions by your profile bio, by your profile highlights, and by your pinned posts. However you want to do it, it's up to you. So as you can see here, we're making people DM the word help. Then we are also, like I said before, like you need to build instant trust, right? You need to build instant authority, right? So for that, we are telling people how I made 2 million trading and helped 278 traders achieve similar results, something like that. So we are building instant authority in this as well. Now, as for the pinned post, what we do is we also tell people to comment something, right? So we can send them a free resource, or if they need our help, they can just comment and we'll reach out to them, something like that. And that also helps us start the conversation, yeah? So you can do these things to make them take some sort of action, but it's extremely important that they do take some sort of action so they can get inside your funnel, okay? Now, you might be wondering, well, like, how can I actually know these things? Like, how do I know what's relevant? What analogy should I use? What's the type of language they use? What's the type of vocabulary they use? What's their problems? What should I write in my profile? Well, all you need to do is know your client like you know your partner, okay? Because if you don't have this kind of data about your clients, you will never know what they want. You will never know what they don't want. You will never know what's causing them to not get to what they want. You will never know any of these things if you don't have data, in-depth data about your client. Okay, so personally, we have a database for all our clients with all the results and unique insights we learned throughout scaling them. And you know, this data not only helps you with all these 4 things, but it also helps you to get better client results. So personally, we have a database of all our clients, okay, with all the results and unique insights we learned throughout scaling them. So what happens is when someone joins us from the same niche, right, like for trading, in fact, we did this for this client as well. When he joined us, we have already worked with, a bunch of traders before him. So we knew what works and what doesn't, right? When he joined us, we just implemented the things we learned from scaling the previous clients, right? And this is why it's important to have the data of all the clients you have. Basically, what happens is whenever someone joins us from the same niche we've already brought results for, we simply take all the insights from all the other clients we scaled, modify some parts to fit the new client's business and implement them right away. So this gives them a massive advantage because they don't have to spend years of hit and trial. They don't have to waste their money. They don't have to waste their time and effort in figuring out what works because we know already what works and what doesn't, right? So when people work with us, they also get to leverage all the insights we have gained from scaling other people in their niche, right? Which saves them years of hitting trials and hundreds of thousands of them. This is going to help your clients as well, but only if you keep a database of all your clients, right? With all the data, and you need to know all these data points, like what's the demographic, what's their income, what they are good at in their skill you're teaching, right? Be it trading, fashion designing, business, whatever, right? Their struggles, their fears, their desired situation, yeah? Why they can't get there alone, objections and doubts, like what type of objections do people give you about your process, about your program, about anything else, right? About your content, right? What are the common beliefs? Yeah, why they exactly buy from you. If you understand why people buy from you, you can easily use that reason to make other people buy from you as well. Just think about it. People always ask me, like, Divyansh, how do I make this person buy? Like, I don't know why some people buy with me on the sales calls. I don't know why some people don't buy it. I don't know what's the problem. Dude, you need to understand why people buy in the first place. Okay, because if you understand why people buy in the first place, you can use that reason, the same reason, to sell to other people on the sales calls. Yeah, so yeah, and the common questions are like, you need to have all these data points. Okay, that's the first part, the messaging. Now, after we fix the messaging, the second part is the positioning. Now, what is positioning? It's the way you present yourself online. Now, most people confuse messaging with positioning, but messaging is what you say in your content, whereas the positioning is the way you present yourself online. Now, there are 2 types of positioning. So I call this a filthy rich positioning or the nerd positioning. Okay, now what is the nerd positioning? Well, People who are known mainly for the knowledge and the value they provide is what I say the nerd positioning. But people who are mainly known for their lifestyle is what I say the filthy rich positioning. And you will notice, okay, this is something interesting. You'll notice that people who do the filthy rich positioning, they often sell low to mid ticket offers, mainly positioned for beginners. Yeah. And people who do the nerd positioning sell high ticket offers for intermediate and advanced people. You know why that is? It's simply because broke people, beginners, most of them are attracted to lifestyles, to flashy lifestyles, because they want to achieve their life and they just keep thinking about it, right? But when it comes to taking action, those are the most advanced and intermediate people. Now, intermediate and advanced people have already been through that stage, right? They have understood that they don't only need to dream, but they need to take specific action in order to get there. Now, how do they need to take that action? That's what the nerd positioning helps you do, right? You give people answers to the problems they're struggling with. That helps you differentiate in this competitive space, right? Now, what are some names? I'm sure you recognize all of these faces, but yeah, when it comes to the filthy rich positioning, look at Iman Getji, look at Luke Belmar, look at Andrew Tate. But when it comes to the nerd positioning, look at Charlie Morgan, look at David. This guy is in the agency space, these guys are in the e-com space, and for the business, we have the legend Alex Ramosi. You can clearly see the difference between all these people's content, right? In the agency space, if you look at Iman's videos, Iman's positioning online, it's extremely different from what Charlie Morgan does, right? And Charlie Morgan sells programs for 10K plus, but Iman sells it for 500 bucks, 1,000 bucks, like low to mid ticket types of things. He's doing low to mid ticket offers, and this is why this positioning works the best for him, the filthy rich positioning. I hope by now you have understood why doing the low ticket stuff is an absolute waste of time. So what you need to do is probably do the nerd positioning, or what we did for our client was a mix of both these positioning. I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. Most people, they position their high ticket offers the same way the filthy rich positioning people position their low ticket offers. So can you already see how that's a very fucked up thing? Like, you're trying to target rich people, let's just not use the word rich, you're trying to target intermediate and advanced people by showing off your lifestyle. Bro, people don't care about that stuff once they reach a certain level. You need to position yourself according to the stuff they're going through at this point of time. For low ticket offers, beginners people, mostly, it's like, you know, they don't really have that much money, right? And they want to achieve this flashy lifestyle. So the way you position yourself is by showing how you were broke and stuff like that. And then you achieve this crazy life. You show your Lambos, you show your Rolexes and stuff like that. People are gonna be mad. Like, you're going to get a mad amount of people if you do that type of positioning. This works extremely well for beginners, like people who are targeting beginners, right? Look at Andrew Tate. Like, what does he even do? He just rage baits people, he posts controversial content, and he shows off his flashy lifestyle. And Hustlers University is mainly made for people who are beginners. So his marketing, his positioning works wonders, right? Because he's using the right type of strategies to attract the right type of people. For him, it is beginners. But for you, I don't think it's the case. If it's the case, I'm going to show you what you can do the same way that we did for a client, okay? But look, when you do this type of positioning, the filthy rich positioning, when your positioning is 100% filthy rich, you attract broke leads as well. Because mostly, what type of people get fascinated by seeing a lot of Lamborghinis and flashy watches and stuff like that? Broke people, people who don't have that kind of lifestyle, obviously, right? So this is why you risk attracting a lot of broke leads if you 100% rely on doing the filthy rich positioning. This is how we position our clients' offer. We were targeting intermediate and advanced people and the beginners as well. Okay, so we were basically targeting all different segments of the trading niche. This is why we had to have a mixed approach when it came to positioning, right? So what we did is we had 20% lifestyle positioning, right? And then we did 80% knowledge positioning. So 20% filthy rich, then 80% nerd positioning. Now, this ratio obviously changes over time, depending on the type of people we were attracting. And it also just depends on your current achievements, okay, your online presence level, and many other factors, which we discuss again a lot more in detail inside our iOS program, right? But now, how did we actually do this, right? Like, how did we understand, like, okay, we need to have 80% knowledge and 20% lifestyle? Well, simple. We just analyzed the current client base. So we analyzed all the clients he had, right? their demographics, the type of content they prefer, etc. Stuff like that. Like, you need to know your customer inside out in order to make database decisions. You need to know it, right? Because I can almost guarantee you each problem you have inside your business can be solved if you just know your customer well. If you've got a problem, just ask your customer about it. Like, literally, guys, if you're struggling to, let's say, write ad copies, right? You don't know which ad copy is going to, make people click on it, right? You just go to your existing customer base and you just ask them, like, okay, I've created these 3, 4, 5 different ad copies. Which one would you click on? Right? Because they're already your existing clients and you're targeting people like them. So they will obviously have information around the ad copy, right? So they would obviously be able to help you with that. So literally almost every single problem inside your business can be solved if you know your customers inside out. Now, when it came to 80% knowledge, this is what we did. So we created very specific problem solution videos. And these videos, I'm going to be very honest with you, these videos were not getting views, like very less views. But all the views these videos got were extremely qualified. When you create specific content, that doesn't get views, but that gets you qualified views. Obviously, you don't want to attract the masses. You only want to attract the people who are actually qualified to work with you, right? And this is exactly what this does. When it came to creating specific problem solution videos, we were also posting in-depth tutorials. We also created like a 4-hour long free course, and we were always over delivering in the content because that's what these people care about. Right? That's what intermediate and advanced people care about. Now, when it came to 20% lifestyle content, we were just posting high-level status photos and stories on Instagram here and there, right? Not too much, because if we did that too much, then our entire positioning would have been lifestyle based, right? So we didn't want to do that. So we were posting high-level stories and photos every now and then on Instagram, and also, posting vlogs every 2-3 months on YouTube as well. This is how we exactly position our client. And if you are also targeting all segments inside your market, this is something you can do too. Okay. Now, after we fixed the positioning, we then needed to fix the content strategy. So here's what most people do, okay? Most people just post viral or top of the funnel content and expect to get sales because, you've been pitched by all these gurus like, oh, you just need to get viral. You're going to get tons of leads. Dude, it doesn't work like that. Because just ask yourself, have you ever in your life just discovered someone and straight up bought from them? Have you? I don't think so. Because here's why. People make buying decisions after going through all 3 layers of content. Okay, now these are the 3 layers: top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and then lastly, the bottom of the funnel content. With top of the funnel content, your goal is to get the attention of your ICP. Okay, so this is where you actually create videos to bring people into your funnel, right? Now, middle of the funnel content is where you actually nurture that attention, because if you go from getting attention to making the sale, it doesn't work like that. People need to be nurtured, right? It's just like meeting a girl for the first time and then asking her to marry you. Like, it doesn't work like that. You're gonna get on a few dates, right? AKA nurture her before asking for the sale, before asking for her to marry you, right? Same goes for your business here. So you need to nurture that attention. And lastly, you convert that attention, right? So it's basically like, if we do the girl example, you walk up to the girl, right? That means you got her attention. Then you go on a few dates. That means you nurtured her attention. And then you asked her to marry you, right? That means you converted the attention, right? That's how it works. Now, usually what we do is we do 30% top of the funnel, 33% middle of the funnel, and 33% bottom of, so that, we are equally attracting people, equally nurturing people, and equally converting people. Right? Now, this ratio totally depends on your current stage as well. I just want to point that out because a lot of people would just think like this applies for me as well. It might not be entirely true because it also depends on the type of videos you currently have on your channel. Okay, maybe you have a lot of top of the funnel videos already, so adding more top of the funnel videos at this point would not be probably a good idea, right? And it also depends on your goals, your funnel, and a lot of other things. Yeah. Now, when it comes to the top of the funnel content, what does it include? So it mainly includes the hand raiser videos and the viral topic kind of videos where you ask people to comment a specific word. This helps you get a lot of attraction, right? So that's what it entails. Now, when it comes to the middle of the funnel content, these are mainly long value packed YouTube videos. Okay, and the free courses and stuff like that. So like I told you, we created a free 4-hour course for people. So yeah, that's that. Right? And then lastly, with the bottom of the funnel content, it's mainly client results, conversion stories, and case studies. Okay, this helps people actually see that you're not full of shit and you've actually got proof. So yeah, this was the third thing that we did. Now the fourth thing was actually doing volume, but with way less effort. Now guys, here's the thing. Once you find the type of content that works for you, right, all you need to do, like literally, all you need to do is actually double down on it. But doubling down comes with its own set of challenges, right? So here are the problems. So people compromise on quality for the sake of volume because doubling down is not easy. You've got to spend twice as much effort as you were doing before. If they don't compromise on the quality, they end up spending a lot of time and effort, right? So it's basically like people usually can't get both done. They can either do volume or they can either do quality, right? They can't do volume with quality, right? So this is a really big problem. So our client was also facing the same problem. So we found a solution for it. So we implemented this repurpose reel strategy. We implemented this strategy because he hated speaking off of scripts. We were creating scripts for him, but he just absolutely hated doing that, right? As a result, reels sounded forced and hence they were less effective, right? It also, took a lot of time to film because, he had to read off a script and he obviously didn't memorize it. So he had to take multiple shots and do like 30 reels a month and stuff like that. So it just took a lot of time and effort. Now, because of this, our existing reel volume couldn't be scaled. So we created a system that could generate reels in volume without compromising on quality. Okay, and here's how it works. Basically, what we did is we scripted the YouTube videos, right? So we were also scripting YouTube videos for him. So we scripted the YouTube videos with mini hooks. Now, what are mini hooks? Mini hooks are the hooks which you say just before you're about to start a specific section. Now, we created these mini hooks specifically so that we can chop them up and later in the editing process, the editor can start the videos, the reels, with these mini hooks, right? So we don't really have to record a different hook for the reels, right? So these acted as hooks for reels. So we scripted YouTube videos with intentional mini hooks, then created an AI that stitches those mini hooks that we created with unique insights, right? Viral moments and value-packed moments from the YouTube video. So the AI just searches all the unique insights, viral moments and value-packed moments from the YouTube video, then stitches those mini hooks with those specific moments, like wherever it fits perfectly. Then AI outputs with a visual hook and an entire word-by-word script. So here's an example script. So the visual hook was 5 years of trading knowledge in one video. Then it also gave us the timestamps from where the video starts and where the video finishes, and then the entire transcript. So this is all making the editing process way easier because the editor knows what exactly to put as a visual hook, what exactly to, trim in the video because of the timestamp and everything. So AI outputs a visual hook and an entire word-by-word script. Then the editor from here just quality checks the output, right? Just sees if the, timestamps are right, if the hook is good, all that stuff. So the editor quality checks. Then the output gets uploaded in the client's Notion database. So this was a game changer. Like we didn't even have to lift a finger. It was all being done through the AI and automated system we created for this client, right? Outputs get uploaded in the client's Notion database, and then the client just simply chooses the best 7 outputs, right? In 2 to 3 minutes, that is it, right? He just has to see yes and no. That's it, right? And why 7? Because we were posting 7 reels a week. Once we implemented this system, we could post 14 reels a week, right? So we just doubled down on the volume because we were posting 2 YouTube videos a week, and that helped us create 14 reels per week as well, right? Now the selected outputs were sent to the editor's database, which looked something like this. So the real name, status, short form content or long form content, editing style, all that good stuff, right? And then 7 reels get edited and ready to publish within 2 days, right? So guys, this helped us save so much amount of time. So as a result, reels perform way better as they sounded natural, right? Because we just clipped the reel from the YouTube video, which of course sounded natural. And there was no filming burden on the client, which is absolutely game changer because he was spending a lot of time filming and now he didn't really have to do that, right? Now at our company, we are also working on creating AI avatars based content so that our clients don't even have to film a single video, like not a YouTube video, not a reel. Their AI avatars can actually just film the videos for them, right? So we are also working on creating that, which will soon be launched. Depending on whenever you're watching this video, it might already have been launched, but yeah, it's just going to change the game, right? Then we easily scale the volume to 2-3 reels a day, right? Which increase the views tremendously, as you can probably tell here. So this was something we created for Instagram to reduce filming burden on the client when it comes to Instagram content. Yeah. Now the second problem was for YouTube content. Right? So what we did again is created a custom AI technology for researching competitors' video points from competitors' videos. Now, here's how it works. So firstly, this AI scans YouTube, okay, for similar successful videos on the topic. So basically it does competitor research, right? Then it does two things from there. Right, it attracts, not attracts, but extracts all the comments, right? So all the feedback, the questions, the doubts people had, and whichever things they basically wrote down in the comment section, it extracts all of that. So whatever his competitors, prospects were commenting on the videos, we were extracting all of it, right? This is a very sneaky strategy, but we were doing it, right? Everything is fair in business and business. Anyways, so this is something it did. Right? Then the second thing it did was break down the video structure. So we were only analyzing the most successful videos, right? And if you are analyzing a successful video and you know its structure, you can easily replicate that, right? And guys, we're not copying anyone. We're just taking inspiration and just adding our own twist to it, right? We're just copying the structure. Right? We're not copying the video. There's a difference, yeah? And most people think, oh, I don't want to copy that. I don't want to copy that. No, you shouldn't never copy anyone, right? But what you can copy is the structure, right? Not the content, but the structure. There's a difference, yeah? So this is what it broke down. It broke down the general structure. Then it also broke down what's exactly missing from this video, right? What could be added to make it more compelling, make it more valuable, right? So the value enhancement opportunities, stuff like that, right? And these are some screenshots to kind of show you like what it looked like. So as you can see, it broke down the entire general structure, literally every goddamn thing in so much detail. This is a game changer, guys, I'm telling you. Then the comments as well. So all types of comments in the transcript of the video, every single thing, right? Now, this used to run for 10 videos, okay? So we used to analyze 10 successful videos because every video can just be a one-time hit, right? But if we are doing it for 10 videos, then we're talking, yeah? So this is why we did it for 10 videos, and the AI outputted the perfect script outline. Not the word-by-word script, but the perfect script outline, right? With a strong intro, strong body, and a strong outro. And this is all done under 30 minutes. Just imagine that. You're researching 10 competitors' videos and creating an AI script, not AI, but creating a normal script outline that is perfectly tailored to your ICP, all under 30 minutes. That's what this AI does, right? And as a result, client went through the script and added just important details that he wanted to talk about. He just pressed record and just filmed the video. That was it, right? And this reduced his workload by tons of hours. This is why we were easily able to scale the volume to 2-3 reels a day as well, right? Because, more videos meant, more reels for us to post from the YouTube videos, yeah? And this helped us move towards becoming the market leader, because if you're analyzing your competitors' videos, you have the ability to outperform them because your competitors' prospects are your prospects as well. So if someone is commenting that they don't like this specific thing about the video and they would like it if you included this specific topic under that competitor's video, and if you include that inside your video, then of course that person is going to come to you, right? So this helps you outperform all your competitors. It's simply because you covered all the doubts and questions. Nothing crazy, yeah? So yeah, these are the 4 key things we did to develop the YouTube and Instagram ecosystem to generate tons of quality traffic. All right, now on to step 4, low cost ads. Okay, so look, after creating the ecosystem, the IG and YouTube ecosystem, we started getting quality traffic. But content, it's like a Toyota. It's reliable, good for the long run, but we wanted a Porsche, right? So something that can bring us results fast. So this is why we started pumping low cost ads, right? But to be honest, didn't you get poor results with low budget? No, this only happens when you don't know what the fuck you're doing, right? So we basically ran 2 types of ads, okay? Follower ads, then the VSL ads, all right? Now, most people, okay, when they're running follower ads, they just make the mistake of boosting it from the app. Okay, and for those of you who don't know what follower ads are, it's basically ads on Instagram designed to increase the amount of followers you've got. All right, simply put. Now, most people when running follower ads, they just boost it from the app to just see what the most viewed post is, and then they just boost it. Now, what that leaves you is with limited data, right? Because when you boost it from the app, you can't really see a lot of analytics, right? It's always limited. So what's the solution for this? It's Facebook Ads Manager, right? So you need to run follower ads from your Facebook Ads Manager. Now, this gives you more control over everything. Like you can see every single detail, every single analytic from the Facebook Ads Manager. Right now, I've soon got a tutorial coming up about running ads, follower ads from the Facebook Ads Manager. I'm probably going to release that video in a month or two. But yeah, let me know if you want me to release it earlier. Now, the second mistake is people don't track anything when it comes to follower ads. Like if you've ran follower ads and you have still not tracked them, then this is the biggest mistake you can do, because if you don't track, you're not going to make the right decision, right? And because of this, people usually just blindly shut down campaigns. They might run the campaign for like 3-4 days and then shut it down because it's not bringing results, right? So this happens when you don't track anything. Okay, and to fix this, what we did for this client is set up a advanced tracking system. We knew exactly how much we were going to make based on our numbers. Okay, so we weren't guessing, we weren't predicting, we just fucking knew how much we're gonna make the next one. I'm gonna talk more about it in just a minute, all right, when we discuss about the tracking stuff. A third mistake is boosting random posts that got the most views. Like, oh my god, like the amount of people I've seen do this is insane. I don't know why people get the idea that boosting the most viewed post is also going to get them the most amount of followers. No, that's not the case. It got you the most amount of views, but it necessarily might have not gotten you the most amount of followers, right? So there is no point in boosting the most viewed post. Plus, it's not optimized. Okay, it's not optimized for getting followers, right? And this is why most people, when they do this, they get unqualified leads. So to fix this, we created these follower ads using our ad scripting frameworks. Okay, in the ad scripting frameworks, we have a lot of angles, but the two most common ones we use is the value-based angle and the results-based angle. Now, in the value-based angle, it's more like we're providing value to the person. In exchange for that, they're going to follow us. Right now, the results-based angle is where we are basically just talking about a case study and just basically telling people, like, if they want to achieve the same results, then they should follow us, right? Now, that's the key with these ads. You need to give people a reason to follow you, right? If you just tell them to follow you, no one's going to do that. But if you give them a reason to do it, they are going to do that. So that's what the ad scripting framework solves for us. It helps us get qualified leads. Now, another mistake I see people make is they don't know their KPIs. Okay. And for those of you who don't know what's the meaning of KPIs, key performance indicators, but yeah, like you should know every single KPI in your industry, especially when you're running ads, right? So what should be your cost per follower according to your industry? What should be the cost per call? What should be your cost per close? Like if you don't know these numbers, you're basically not going to understand what cost is higher and what cost is lower, right? How would you even know, okay, if my cost per follower is, let's say, $5, it's high, right? How will you know that if you don't know the industry averages, if you don't know your KPIs? You can't, right? Which is important, because if you are thinking, oh, my cost per follower is $10, right? And you're not making sales, right? You'll probably end up optimizing the wrong thing, right? Whereas the first thing you should be optimizing is your cost per follower, because it's extremely high. So yeah, you need to know your KPIs. Now, as a result of follower ads, this is what we got, yeah? So we were getting 10 to 30 followers per day, and out of which around 30 to 40% of them were qualified. So you can see like us getting followers. And if you want to know like which were from the ads, like it's easy. It says started following you from your ad. The follower ads were giving us a crazy ROAS. So we were getting a 10x ROAS easily. We were getting sales every now and then, as you can see from these screenshots as well, right? And I'm talking paid in full sales, not just payment plan or random weirdos coming in and just not being able to afford something, but paid in full sales. So this is the first type of ads we ran, right? The follower ads. Okay. Now the second type of ads we ran were the VSL ads. Okay. Now guys, look, with VSL ads, it's again the same principles. Most of it is same, right? You need to make sure that you have a good ad scripting framework, because again, if you just script the ads randomly, it's just not going to work, right? You need to have a framework in place. You need to make sure you are writing the right hooks, right? You are hitting the right pain points in your ad creatives, and you can't do that if you don't know about your customers and if you don't have an ad scripting framework, right? So make sure you are scripting ads with a specific ads framework, okay? So with the VSL ads, we were getting really, really cheap cost per lead. I'm talking about qualified cost per lead, not just cost per lead. So we were getting a $7 cost per lead qualified, right? The way we made VSL ads work was by doing multiple creative testing. Multiple creative testing is something that was an option till Meta dropped their Andromeda update, right? So with Andromeda update, it's all about creative testing. Earlier, you used to change a bit of interest stacking and the targeting settings. You can play around with that to get different results. But now Meta is going to reach new people for your ads based on your creatives. Okay, so you can literally have the most shittiest targeting options, but if your creative is on point, it's speaking to the people you want to target, then you're going to reach those people. Okay, this is why it has become more and more important to use the right frameworks to script ads. So yeah, this is what we did for our client. So we scripted 4 different ads with 4 different frameworks, right? And all of them had different styles as well. Like, so the first one was highly edited with all the, animations and stuff. Then the second one was the raw video, right? No editing at all. And the third one was iPad Miro style video. So just like kind of this one, right? And then the fourth one again was raw, but with a bit of captions, right? So we had different packaging for different videos. So you want to make sure that all your creatives look different. If they look the same, it's not going to work with the Andromeda update, okay? You need to make sure that you have different scripts, right? You are testing different hooks, different angles. So for example, in, ad 1, you could start off with a pain hook, right? So for example, for trading, it might be, if you are struggling to become profitable, then X, Y, and Z, right? Or you could start with a results-based angle, right? So for example, I helped a trader go from inconsistent 2K months to making over 20K in a single month. And here's how I did it, right? This is a results-based angle, right? So you can experiment with different types of angles. And instead of calling out your ICP by saying who they are, like for example, if you're targeting unprofitable traders, yeah? So instead of saying, if you are an unprofitable trader, although, I like this approach because this is the most clear approach to call out the person, you can actually call them out by using their pain. So think about the pains unprofitable traders have, right? And then call them out by saying that, right? Try this. It's going to work wonders for you. I promise. Okay? So we were doing multiple creative testing every single month, right? And this helped us get qualified calls almost every single day. Like, as you can see from these screenshots, this helped us get calls every single day, right? And I'm going to give you some pure sauce here, okay? I'm going to give you a really, really good hack here to get only qualified calls and leads on your calendar. So you know how you always set up a pixel on your landing page, on your booking page, whatever, right? Now, here's what we did differently, okay? So we set up 2 different pixels, okay? 2 different pixels, and this is how it worked, okay? So for qualified leads, what happened is normal leads, they landed on the opt-in page. They answered the questions we were asking in the opt-in form, okay? So it was name, phone number, country, and 1 qualifying question that would help us determine if the lead is qualified or not, right? Now, if the lead was qualified, then they would move on to the VSL page. And that's where the qualified leads event would fire up. Okay, so we were training our pixel to only get qualified leads. We were only training our pixels on the qualified leads, not the unqualified ones. So if the lead is unqualified here, right, they would just go to a different page with another pixel that is for unqualified lead. Okay, so this is how you can actually make sure that your pixel is only being trained on the qualified leads. Now, similarly, to get qualified calls, so whenever someone landed on the booking page, they answered the questions, and if they were qualified, then they would go into the thank you page where the qualified calls pixel would trigger, right? And again, if they were unqualified, they would go to a different page where another pixel for unqualified leads would trigger. So this is how we exactly knew, okay, so this amount of people are qualified, this amount of people are unqualified, and our pixel was only being trained on the qualified people, both for leads and for calls. Mate, if you do this, your pixel is going to be so well trained, like slowly you'll only start to get only qualified leads and calls. This is a game changer, guys, right? So yeah, this is what we did when it comes to ads, right? So after we were doing this, we were getting a lot of calls booked, a lot of followers, everything was good. And as we started running ads and content, leads started flowing in like crazy, and a client was busy with the other work, and no, he was kind of experienced, with appointment setting or sales. So here's what we did next. In step 5, we built out his entire growth trial. Okay, now what is a growth trial? It's an appointment setter, a closer, and a VA. Okay, now how do we do this? Simple, it's by following our 11-step hiring process. I know it's a long process, but you'll understand why in just a minute. Okay, now here's why he needed this trial and why you probably need it too. Okay, so as for the appointment setting part, right, he didn't know anything about setting appointments, my client, right? He didn't really have an idea. He didn't really know how it worked. He didn't really have a framework, nothing. He didn't know anything about setting appointments, right? Then secondly, he didn't really have the time to track everything, optimize everything, learn new scripts, frameworks, report everything, etc. Right? He just didn't have the time to do that because he had to take care of his clients, he had to film content and a lot of other stuff. Thirdly, he was losing appointments that would otherwise have been set, simply because he had no idea about appointment setting, right? He was just blindly shooting in the dark, right? And he had no consistency in appointments because he had 10 other tasks to do every single day. So this is why he needed an appointment setter. Now, similarly, for the closing part, he didn't really know much about sales either, right? So he would lose tens of thousands of dollars, and plus he hated it, like legit hated it, right? And that naturally tanked his performance, okay? So this is why we needed someone who actually loved sales and was really good at it. When you do something you're not good at, plus you don't like it, it just becomes a disaster. Like, you are basically forcing yourself to do it every single day, but without realizing that you're not performing at your peak. Okay, simply because firstly, you're not good at it. Secondly, you don't like it. If you're someone who's not good at something, but you like it, you might perform way better. Like, literally. But if you don't like it, and on top of that, you're not good at it, it's an absolute disaster. This was the case for my client as well, unfortunately. And secondly, again, he didn't really have the time to track everything, optimize, learn new scripts, frameworks, and report everything like closers do. And because he hated it, right, and didn't even have the time to do this properly, we had no choice. Okay, this was a really, really big exception. We had no choice but to hire a sales rep for him way earlier than planned. Otherwise, his performance would have kept tanking. Okay, guys, this is something I stand against, because if you hire a closer way too early, it's just going to destroy your business, because the closer doesn't know much about your business, doesn't know much about your prospects. Why? Because you haven't trained him on so. And why can you not train him on the same thing? Simply because you yourself don't know much about your prospects or your market. And this thing alone caused us a lot of trouble at the start, okay? Which is why I won't recommend hiring sales way too early in the journey. So for example, I remember we couldn't train the sales rep on the scripts and the prospects problems because at that time, we didn't really have in-depth information on the prospects, okay, because it was just starting, right? And neither did the client, because again, he didn't really track anything, he didn't really make databases and stuff like that, right? So he himself didn't really have any information on the prospects, right? He did have some information, but not as much as we needed. We didn't even know what sales scripts worked in the past and stuff like that, because he never used a sales script, right? So basically, we were lacking a lot of data that we could have used to train the sales rep, which made things very difficult. This is why I won't recommend hiring sales reps too early, because if you hire them too early, you can't train them properly, and as a result, they will not close properly. And if they won't close properly, of course, they're not going to make any money. They're not going to make any money for you and for themselves. And eventually, they'll end up quitting, right? So save yourself the trouble. Don't hire sales reps way too early, okay? So this is why we needed a closer. Now, as for the virtual assistant, this is why we needed him. So he was involved in a lot of low leverage tasks like posting content, reels, YouTube videos, Twitter posts, stories, handling basic client queries all day long, designing stories, all that stuff, right? So these were low leverage tasks that weren't really moving the business forward. Okay, these were some low-level operational tasks, okay, which could easily be outsourced. And these things took a lot of his time, but more importantly, they took a lot of his focus and energy. And guys, if you don't have focus and energy, you can't do anything productive, because these are the two main things required to do something productive, right? And as a result, he couldn't really film content effectively, right? So I could see in his voice like how tired he was, how he didn't really have any ideas on what to say and stuff like that, right? He couldn't do client calls effectively and had no personal time left, right? Remember when I told you he was a prisoner of his own business? This is what I meant. And you know what? He was working so much that his doctor even told him that you should take the weekends off. You shouldn't really be working this hard. So it was basically like a necessity to hire someone like a virtual assistant for him to help him out with all the low leverage tasks. So he wasn't involved all day long in tasks that don't even matter that much. This is why we needed this trier, and this is why you probably need it too, because I'm sure if you are really good at appointments, then you probably don't need an appointment setter right now. Only if you're not able to spend as much time as you can on appointment setting, then you can hire an appointment setter. But if you're really good at appointment setting, all you need is a closer, right? So just do the things you're good at and hire people for the rest. Okay, this is my rule, and this is what I teach my clients too. Okay, so if you don't really have the time, if you're working constantly inside your business, then you need to hire at least one of them. Now, when it comes to hiring, the most important part is hiring the right people. I can tell you, hire an appointment setter. You probably can hire an appointment setter in just 1 week or so, right? But most people do it the wrong way, okay? And in a business, if you hire the right people, you are basically just putting yourself out of business, because the wrong people will absolutely destroy your business. Simply because, if you have low skilled mechanics building a car, it will break, right? Because they don't really have the skills to do it, right? And same goes for your business. So here's how we build his trio the right way. Okay, and I'm going to show you a condensed version of our 11-step process. Otherwise, it's going to be a fucking long video. Step 1, sourcing. So basically what I mean by sourcing is actually finding the people we can hire, right? So this is how most people do it. They just post jobs in outdated Facebook groups, whether it be for a setter, a virtual assistant, a closer, whatever, right? Or they just ask their colleagues, oh, do you know a setter? Do you know a closer? Stuff like that, right? And when they post job descriptions, they add no to very little job descriptions. I'm like, dude, did you even put any effort into creating this? Because this is crazy. Like, employees can see right through it. Like, if you don't really put that much effort in the job post, they can see right through it, and that often sends a bad impression. I remember, like, when I was absolutely starting and I was looking for a job, I used to see a lot of jobs, right? A lot of them. But the ones which had a lot of detail, right? The ones which seemed that the person who created this job post actually put some effort into it, because I know that if they can spend time into creating a job post, then they can definitely spend time in training me, and they can definitely spend time in growing their business as well. Right? That just kind of speaks about the company as well. Now, not only that, what less job description causes is spending hours in the chat answering questions. I'm sure, like, if you've hired people in the past and you have had very short job descriptions, you have had to answer the employees' questions in the chat, because people are just curious about a lot of things, right? And if you don't answer them, they're not going to probably apply, all that sorts of thing. So when you add a detailed job description, it also helps you eliminate that, right? So this is what we do personally, okay? We first create an IEP. Okay, so just like you have an ICP, ideal customer profile, we create an ideal employee profile. Because here's the thing, guys, if you don't know who are you hiring, like, what should the person have? What skills should the person have? And all that stuff. If you don't have that written down in front of you, you will hire the wrong people. Like, that's just the truth. This is why we create an ideal employee profile, right? So who are you hiring? Character traits you want in this person. Skills you want in this person. Every single thing noted down on a doc right in front of us. Okay, so this is the first step. Then the second step is we use our job posting strategy to get 100+ interested applicants. Like, I'm not even joking, guys. So this is from my LinkedIn, I believe. And we do this all without paid ads or thousands of followers. You don't need that. You just need to have the right job description. You need to just have the right hooks in the job title and everything else, right? And you can have a ton of applicants just like we do. So that's how you actually source your people. Now, the third step here is to create an in-depth job description. And this contains video plus text, okay? So we always have a video here that explains that entire document, okay? And then we have the text here that tells people where they can apply from, the job title, timings, location, role type, and a lot of other details inside this job description document, okay? This saves us a lot of time in explaining stuff over chat, right? Because every time someone asks a question that's in the job description document, which is most of the times, we just tell people to just read the job description document, yeah? And this also gives applicants clarity on what we are looking for. Okay, saving us both the time and effort. Now, the next step is our 24 questions Google form application. So we have this to basically pre-qualify people, okay? Because we don't really want to spend that much time in interviewing people one-on-one, face-to-face. Because let's be honest, it's extremely time consuming, right? So we want to make sure that we are pre-qualifying people as much as possible before even the interview starts, okay? So we are only dealing with most qualified candidates, right? So this helps us pre-qualify the people. Right now, I think I've got a screenshot of our appointment set at Google form, right? So you can see 4 questions from here, and there are a lot of other questions as well, right? Now, the next step is a game changer, because this helps us gauge the performance of the employee before even interviewing them or working with them. Whoever gets selected after filling out the Google form application, we give them a demo task. Now, this demo task gets rid of all the unqualified applicants before we start the interview process, okay? If you don't have this step inside your sourcing process, you are missing out. You are wasting a lot of time. Because just imagine if you hopped on a call with someone and you liked them, but when it came to hiring and just, kind of seeing their skills, they're absolute dog shit. Like, you have just wasted a lot of your time. Congratulations, right? So this helps you prevent that, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't really want to do the demo task. I don't really have the time for it. Well, dude, you just made my job way easier, because now I know why not to hire you, because you're not a hard worker. Like, that's just simple, right? If someone is not willing to do something that can help them get this job, that just means they don't want it bad enough, right? So this is why if someone tells me that they don't want to do the demo task, and a lot of applicants don't do the demo task, don't get me wrong, a lot of them don't do it, right? That instantly tells me they are not the right person for me, because I don't want these types of people in my company. So this is how we source people. Now, the next step is interviewing people. This is how most people interview. And this is how I used to interview as well, because I didn't know how to do it properly. So you just interview 5 or 6-ish people, right? And ask basic questions like, what's your experience? Like, what are your hobbies? And stuff like that. Like, guys, those questions don't matter. You can literally ask these questions in the Google form. You don't need to waste your time on the call asking these types of stupid basic questions. Those are not meant for the interview calls, right? So this is how we do it. So we interview at least 10 people for each post, okay? You can already see how qualified applicants we get after we give them the demo task. From this demo task, the people who get selected move to the interview round, right? So we already have quite less applicants to interview, because not all of them pass in the demo task. Adding the demo task step has saved me so much amount of time, because I can clearly see, okay, this person didn't do the task correctly, so I shouldn't probably hire them, right? So this helps me gauge people way early in the process, saving me a lot of time. As for interviewing people, we interview at least 10 people, because the more people you interview, the more chances of you finding the right person. And guys, finding the right person is the single most important thing when you are hiring. I think I watched a reel recently in which the Airbnb CEO, I think his name is Brian, right? He said that he interviewed hundreds of engineers, hundreds of people. I think he wanted to do something related to engineering or development in his company, Airbnb. So he interviewed hundreds, right? Hundreds of developers or engineers. I don't remember the exact position, but yeah, he did all of that for months in a row, months, right? Till the day he found the right person. So the least you can do is interview at least 10 people. Don't just stop there, right? Don't just stop on one interview, do 2-round interviews. Now, this is how you can structure the 2 rounds, okay? So the first round is basically analyzing their skills, okay? Analyzing their character, like how good they are as a person, and seeing how honest they were in their application. So a lot of times people actually lie in the Google form applications. They wouldn't really speak with much honesty there, right? But if you ask the same question in a different way on the call, they will, if they stutter, that means they were lying in the application. That's just pure logic, right? But if they don't, and if they're quite confident in what they say, that means they were honest, right? So yeah, definitely check this when you are doing the first round, how honest they were in the application. And then the last thing to check is conviction in their tone for everything they say. Literally everything. Because if you can hire people who are convicted, That means, that tells you that this person is confident in themselves, so they will get the job done, right? Whereas if someone is quite shy, they are really not confident when speaking, and especially if you're hiring for a sales role, that's just a pure red flag. Like, never hire that person. So this is what you do in the first round. Now, in the second round, you basically look back on the first round, you write down all your doubts you have about this person or any questions popping up in your head, and then you ask the questions clearing up those doubts in the second round. And then just do some final honesty check and background check and all that stuff in the second round. Okay, this is how we structure both our rounds. This helps us hire the best people. Like, I'm not even joking, guys. So third step is actually hiring, right? Now, most people, after they've finished interviewing 5 or 6 people, they just hire the person based on their gut, right? They just think about, oh, okay, this person was the best. Like, I really liked speaking to this person. So yeah, let me just hire this one. Dude, that's the worst way to hire people. Never do that, okay? Because this is what happens when you do this, all right? So 2 weeks pass by and you realize you hired the wrong person, right? You wasted all your money, your energy, your time on them, and then you start looking for a new person, right? And because you again don't know how to hire people properly, you again end up finding average talent. And you keep repeating this cycle 3 to 6 months, so you start doing everything yourself again, just the way you were doing before, right? You keep working 12 hours a day, mostly working on things that don't even matter. And you do this just to feel productive, right? Because you're working, right? You're being productive. This makes you exhausted, and because of which you can't really focus on the high leverage tasks. And then you lose hope because you've made no progress, and then eventually you quit, right? This is what happens, guys. And remember this, businesses don't fail, founders do. And this is a perfect example explaining how they fail. Don't be one of those founders, okay? And instead, hire people the right way. When we hire people, we actually look at all the applicants, we have all the interview data, and we have a scoring system in place, okay? This helps us identify the people who are the best at everything, right? So as a rule of thumb, what I do is I don't hire for skill, right? I don't hire for their character. I hire for their character and their skill, okay? Character comes first for me always, because you cannot train character. You can train the skill if they're not, let's say they're 80% good at the skill but 100% good at the character. I would always go with this person compared to the person who is 80% good at the character then 100% good at the skill, because I can't tolerate bad character people in my company. Oh, I did that in the past and I regret it till date. So I'm never doing that again, right? Because guys, it's simple. You cannot train character. I used to think I can with some things, right? But it just doesn't work like that. You can't change a person's nature, right? At least not easily. So do yourself a favor and hire based on the character first, and then look at the skill, okay? And have a scoring system in place that scores people based on their answers. Okay, this helps you gauge which person was the best in their character, which person was the best in the skills and everything else, right? Now, after the hiring comes the onboarding. Now, most people don't really have an onboarding procedure. For them, this is what onboarding means. They just hand over the logins to their Instagram or whatever the person is going to work on, and that is it, right? Onboarding is done. No, it doesn't work like that. So we personally have a 7-day onboarding process for each type of role, okay? Because guys, you need to understand that onboarding is not only about giving the employee everything they need to start working. It's about setting the tone for the rest of their employment, because it's kind of like their first official day with you, right? So you need to set the tone right from that day. So what you do in the first 7 days matters the most and will dictate your relationship with them throughout lifetime. I'm not kidding, guys. That's just the truth. So you need to make sure you're doing this correctly, okay? And here's an overview of our seller onboarding procedure, okay? So day 1 and 2 is basically where we get everything set up for them and just, make them complete the training materials we give them, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. So that is day 1 and 2. We have an entire checklist prepared for all the roles and what we need to do, stuff they need to do and stuff like that. This helps us organize everything perfectly, right? So that's what happens in day 1 and 2, because kind of setting up the foundation. Then in day 3, we actually conduct the onboarding call, okay? Now on the onboarding call, this is what we do. We get them to know personally. We ask them if they've completed all the tasks. We ask them if they were able to get access to everything like the logins, the tracking sheets and everything else. We check their Chrome ID because we make people create their Chrome IDs and have some bookmarks, necessary bookmarks and stuff like that. So we always check that if they did it, right? We ask them to show their tracking sheet and make them type in it just to kind of see if the permissions are right or wrong, right? We ask them specific questions from the offer Bible. So basically the offer Bible has entire information about our offer and the client's offer, all the pain points, all the target audience, all the pricings and everything, literally. We ask them basically specific questions about the offer Bible just to kind of see if they understood everything. Then if they're asked if they have questions about any page, so we give people a lot of training materials to consume. So we just ask them like if you've got any questions. We then quiz them about the training videos, help them know their KPIs and daily actionable items. And this is key, guys. If you don't tell people what they're going to do on a daily basis, they're just going to fuck up. Most employees will mess up. Okay, this is why you need to give them a daily workflow, something like that, so they can look at it and they just know what to work on, right? Don't leave them hanging, okay? Because what happens is when you leave them hanging, they don't really know what to do. So they do whatever they feel like doing, right? And then you don't get results because they weren't instructed clearly on what they should be doing to help you get the desired result. And then you get the bad result and then you blame it on them. But it's actually on you because you didn't really clearly instruct them. Okay, this is why you need to make sure they've got daily actionable items, right? Now, the next thing is custom to clients. Like if you're targeting multiple niches, we tell them the weekly meeting timings and then intro them to the client, give them access to the Discord, discuss how they will be paid, which is first of every month, and then make them log in on all the accounts on their phone, on the laptop, all the devices. Tell them the next steps, which is basically just waiting for my green light, and then they start the daily workflow. Ask if they've got any questions from me or the client. Ask if the client wants to ask any questions because of course that's important, right? Then we just kind of ask them how they feel and we just move forward from there, right? So your onboarding call need to be this detailed. You need to make sure you are making them do everything properly. You need to make sure if they have consumed some training information, you need to quiz them about it just to kind of see if they actually understood it. And then also you need to build a relationship on the onboarding call as well, right? So we always ask people like, what are their goals for this year, right? What are they going to do to achieve them, stuff like that. This helps us build a relationship and also get to know the person a bit better. So this is what happens on day 3, the onboarding call, all right? Now from day 4 to day 6, which could be less or more, we actually just monitor the conversations, right? We review their leads, we review the combos and provide brutally honest feedback. Because guys, if you're not going to go hard in these starting days, they're basically going to get into the habit of doing the wrong stuff and not getting punished for it, or at least getting corrected for it. They're going to get into that habit and it's going to cause you a lot more in the long run. Okay, so you've got to be very, very real and very, very brutal in the first 7 days. Don't insult them. That's not what I mean. I just mean that you should pinpoint every goddamn thing. Just tell them the reason I'm pinpointing everything is because I want to make sure that you stay in this job for the long run, right? You make a lot of money in the long run as well, not just for a couple of days or a couple of months, but in the long run, right? This is why I need to make sure you're doing everything right. So yeah, you've got to be building that relationship early on with your employees, no matter who it is. Then we also check the person notes in the sheet and see if they're writing them correctly. So this is related to our tracking sheets. And then we usually check if they've completed all the tasks, right? Like for appointments, it's like sourcing leads, sending messages on X, follow-ups and uploading data correctly, managing CRM, submitting the end of the day report, stuff like that. Then on day 7, we basically just ask them about their overall first impression, appointment setting for us. This is after 1 week of setting appointments. We don't do it earlier because it's just not enough time and you need to give this thing a specific amount of time so they can actually get the right picture of your company. Then we also ask them like, what could we have more of? Like, is it testimonials, is it specific content and stuff like that, right? So this is what happens on day 7. So this is our onboarding process and we have a separate onboarding process for each person, for closer, for a setup, for a VA and all that stuff, right? Now, remember guys, like I told you, onboarding is not only about giving the employee everything they need to start working on, it's about setting the tone for the rest of the employment. So make sure you have a detailed onboarding process for every single person. Okay, a one that helps you build a better relationship and that makes sure that they are on the right path for the rest of their employment. Okay, now after you've onboarded the person, what's the next thing you need to do? You need to train them, right? And most people, when it comes to training, they just provide 2 or 3 videos or do a live call once a month or once a week or once every 2 weeks and then just call it a day. Guys, if you don't train the person, how are they going to perform? You need to understand that the way you train your employees will make or break them. So this is why we actually give in-depth training databases to all our employees. Okay, so this is a screenshot of our training database. We have in-depth guides, video and text guides for every goddamn thing. And our employees even told us that they have never been trained like this before, even after joining paid programs. This is the kind of training level you need to have inside your business, right? And we give this database to all our clients as well. So if you're a client, you probably have access to this. And if you don't, just DM me and I'll send it to you. But yeah, you need to have an in-depth database that walks them through everything you do, okay? How you do it and how they need to do it. Okay, so firstly, it needs to cover what they need to do, right? Secondly, it needs to cover how you do it personally. And thirdly, it needs to cover how they should do it. Even after they do things, they're going to need some support, right? So for that, we have chat support. And as you can see here, I try to reply everyone in my team as soon as possible, because I know if I delay the response, they are going to be delayed. Right? They're going to be delayed to do the task they're set out to do, which is eventually going to impact my business and also waste their time. And I respect everyone's time, so I want to make sure that I give them instant feedback. So as you can see in this screenshot, the person messaged me at 1:35 a.m. and I was just chilling at that time, not going to lie. And I saw this message and I was like, holy shit, you know what? Let me just reply to it. So I just replied it instantly. Now, I'm not saying that be online till 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning to reply to your team, but just try to reply to them as soon as possible. Okay, and chat support is your best friend in this, right? With the chat support, we also have weekly calls for the team, so we can discuss all the in-depth stuff, right? Which we can't really go over on the chat, because on chat, you know, we don't really have the time to go over long back and forth convos. So we basically do weekly calls where we go over the setting combos, and I give them live feedback on what they did wrong, what they did right, and all that stuff, right? And it also helps you build team culture, which is extremely important if you're building a team. Because if people in your team don't really like to work with you, or don't really like to work with their colleagues, they're eventually going to quit, right? And you work in a place where you don't like your boss? Probably not, right? You might work there for some time because you need money or whatever, but you're eventually going to quit. So on these calls, we also build the team culture by asking personal questions, right? Just fucking around and all that stuff, okay? This is very important. You need to have that kind of relationship with all your employees. And I'm going to show you a screenshot, right? So the next step is management. And I treat my employees like my homies, because, you know, they are. You know, I'm not even pretending here. They are, right? So the other day, one of my staff just messaged me saying, I wanted to tell you something. You kind of look like the main character in Bahubali. Do you know the movie? So it's an Indian movie, and it was hilarious, right? So we just had a funny conversation at that time. And you can only have this type of relationship with people who you genuinely fuck with, right? So this is why it's important that you hire the right person. Right? Again, coming back to this, you need to hire the right person. You need to feel that you will be able to get stuck in the airport for them if something happens, right? So let's say your flight is delayed and you're stuck at the airport with them. Would you be happy? Would you have anything to talk about? If the answer is yes, it's probably the right person. And this is something my mentor Will taught me. So extremely good tip, right? Definitely follow that. Now, when it comes to management, most people are not giving clear instructions. I know I touched on this earlier, but the only reason why I'm saying this now as well, it's because most people do it, right? Most people, they don't give clear instructions. Even one of my VAs, when we onboarded him, he told me, mate, in my previous role, I wasn't really given clear instructions, right? So basically, the reason why he told me this is because I always ask this question to everyone on the interviews. What was something you didn't really like about your previous job? Okay, this helps me understand what type of things I need to avoid in order to make this person happy. Because at the end of the day, if they're not happy, they're not going to grow your business. It's just not going to work, right? So at that time, my VA told me that, you know, I wasn't really given clear instructions previously. The employer used to just, you know, lash out on me and just talk me, insult me and stuff like that, right? So I was like, that's a pretty shit way to manage people. So I thought about mentioning this in this video. Okay, so you need to make sure you're giving your employees clear instruction. Okay, and a lot of people also blame their employees quite frequently, which is quite unhealthy if you ask me. Because look, guys, if you're blaming someone way too much, they're obviously going to feel bad. And because of that, they're not going to enjoy working with you, and it's just going to destroy the culture. And if you're blaming them so much, you need to understand why you're doing so, right? Is it because of them, or is it because of your poor training structure? You need to identify that. If it's because of them, give them warnings, and if they don't perform, fire them, okay? But you need to find the root cause, right? And most people at the end of the day just treat them as an employee. Like, that's the worst thing you can do to an employee. No one wants to be treated as an employee, as your server, as your waiter or whatever, right? No one wants to be treated that way, okay? So make sure you're not treating people that way. Just treat them as homies, like, because they are family, right? Without them, you'll be fucked, right? So you need to make sure you're treating them right. Okay, and also give them step-by-step instructions on everything. So for example, here I'm telling my VA to just remove the reel from the profile grid after 24 hours. And if you see here, so this is one of the steps included in what he was doing. It's basically laid down, right? So I even have a video above this explaining how he needs to do all these things. So that level of clarity changes everything for the employees, because they now know what they need to do and how exactly they need to do it. Okay, now the last thing you need to make sure when it comes to management is actually taking care of them. Okay, just surprise them with something, give them bonuses, right? Take them out on trips, like, just make them feel happy, guys. When I say they are your family, I mean it. When you treat them like a family, they treat you as family, and that's how you build long-lasting relationships, right? And if you're not hiring someone for the long term, then I don't even know why you are hiring at the moment. Just hire a freelancer. But if you're hiring an employee for full time, then just think of them as a long-term employee. And please take care of them, because just like you, they also have a family to take care of. So yeah, that's how we actually built his growth trio of an appointment setter, a VA, and a closer, right? And these were the results. He saved 12 per hours per day and a shit ton of effort, because we hired all these people, trained them, managed them, everything. We did it for him, which could have otherwise taken him a shit ton amount of time. I'm not even joking, guys. Like, this is something which takes up a lot of time. If you've tried this, you probably know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So we saved him a lot of time and effort, right? Then appointments were being set and sales were being closed without his input. Like, that's the best feeling ever. Honestly, like, when you can see appointments are being set and sales are being closed without your input, whereas 2 months ago you were stressed as hell because you didn't know how to set appointments, you didn't know how to close people properly, and now 2 months later you're literally seeing appointments being set right in front of you. You're making money, you're getting those payment notifications without even your input. That's the most amazing feeling you can have as a founder, right? And then he also had no management stress because we were doing the things for him, and he was truly living like a CEO. And most people, sadly, aren't. They are the prisoner of their own businesses, right? But this guy, he was living like a CEO, right? And without this team, guys, he would have never in his wildest dreams made 130K. Like, he probably haven't made that money, but not anytime soon. Not in just 180 days. Probably not, okay? You need people to grow your business. There is no questions regarding that. Now, as a part of the setter training, we actually created an appointment setting system that the setters could easily follow, okay? And I'm gonna actually talk about it tomorrow, because I can say my camera is right about to die and it's probably getting overheated or something like that. So yeah, I'm just gonna come back tomorrow and film the remaining video, okay? Guys, new day, right? So now let's go into step 6. So step 6 is the appointment setting framework. Now, we were booking appointments in 2 ways, right? So first one was the manual way, and the second one was the automated way. Now, when it came to the manual way, I already told you that we were running follow arounds and the setter was reaching out to the followers and the content convert people and all that stuff, right? So this comes under manual for Instagram and Twitter. Now, the second way we were booking appointments was through the automated way. Now, what do I mean when I say automated? I mean the VSL ads and the YouTube videos, etc., right? The platform bios, stuff like that. So from VSL ads, people used to go to the booking page directly. So there was no human conversation involved, yeah? So people were booking appointments in an automated way, right? Same goes for the YouTube video. So we don't really have an option to chat with people there, right? So the people would just click the link in the description and just book the call from there, right? So this was the automated way. Now, when it came to the manual way, we needed frameworks that we can just give to setters and book appointments, right? Because we couldn't obviously just message people randomly, right? Like most people do this. I talk to a lot of people on a daily basis on sales calls, and they tell me that, they message people just saying, hi, hello, thanks for following me. Are you XYZ? Like, that's just a very random message. You need to have a really strong opener that gets people to reply. And I'm going to show you what we use. All right. So as for IG and Twitter, these were the 4 ways we were actually booking appointments, right? So message request plus bio keyword. So whenever people used to, messages, it would go into our Instagram message requests, and on X, it would go into our X message requests. Now for the bio keyword, they used to DM us the word from the bio, right? So from there, we could just start the conversation. Then reaching out to followers, I've already told you about this, and the story replies. So people used to reply to the stories, either wanting a resource or just replying to work with us, or just randomly replying, right? Just congratulating us or reacting to the stories, etc. Right? We count all of them as story replies, and whenever people used to reply to our stories, we used to continue the conversation with them and set them on an appointment. Okay. Then lastly, the content convo. I think I've already touched on this. So basically, after sending the resource, we continue the convo with them. Okay, and the setter just sets them on an appointment, right? So these were the different mechanisms we were using to book appointments, right? And for all of these, we had different frameworks. Why? Because each person coming through each mechanism had a different intent. So for example, for message request people, they either came with the intention of asking a question or wanting to work with us. So we had to set them in a different way compared to people who just followed us, right? Because people followed us because they just liked our content. Right? That's why they followed us. So we had to approach them differently, and hence we needed to have a different framework with these people. Now, as for the story replies, they either came for a resource or wanted to work with us, or they just randomly replied, like reacting to the story. So again, different intent. That means different framework, right? Then from the content convert people, they came for a resource in 99% cases, or they would either just comment under our posts, and that would mean a different intent, like they just liked that post. Right? They didn't tell us that they needed help or something like that. So we needed to approach them differently, right? And these were the different appointment setting frameworks and scripts we created. So as you can see, the warm outbound script, DM me X bio, the hand raiser content script, the content convert script, and the follow-ups, right? So this is a game changer. I'm going to talk about it in just a minute, right? But yeah, when it comes to most people, okay, they don't either have a framework, or if they do, it has the same repeated script for each scenario. Okay, and here's what ends up happening, right? People either ignore you because they can literally see you copy pasting shit. Try this approach for the client, and people could literally see right through it. People were messaging us, oh, are you a bot? Is this an automation? People can see through it, right? So you need to have a different approach. And what else ends up happening? It's you said no to very less appointments. So basically, by doing this, you're just killing your appointment setting processes, right? So I want you to just imagine you're approaching girls, right? So you cannot use the same approach on every girl, right? Because every girl comes with a different intent, yeah? So girl A, let's say, just smiled at you because you held the door open, right? So she's just being polite, not flirting. And if you instantly go, okay, if you instantly go, hey, want to go out tonight? Like you basically look delusional, right? You just saw her. Yeah, you just saw her. So you look delusional and she's gone, right? With her, you just kind of take it slow, small talk, light vibe, and just build comfort, right? Build that relationship first. Now, girl B is actually giving you signals. She's making eye contact. She's having a conversation with you, asking questions. That means she's curious. Okay, here you can basically escalate naturally, right? So you can just show your personality, build tension, and then ask her out. Okay, so she needs some warming up, not a full pitch at this point, right? Now let's say girl C literally walks up to you, okay, and says, I've seen you before, what's your name? So that just means she's already interested. Otherwise, she wouldn't have walked up to you, yeah? Same goes for the warm leads, right? If they walk up to you, if they ask you for help, that means they're somewhat interested in what you have to offer. Otherwise, they wouldn't have approached you, right? They would have just kept consuming your content and never approached you, but they did. That means they have a different intention, right? So now here, if you start acting overly careful or slow burning the interaction, you will kill this part, right? She needs clarity, she needs confidence and an invite fast, right? Now, same guy, okay, in these 3 scenarios, same guy, same outcome, a date, but completely different approaches, right? This is the key word. I don't know why I can't circle that, but yeah, completely different approaches depending on where she is mentally. Treating them all the same, you'll get rejected by all 3. That's just the truth. You need to treat each person based on the intent. That's how you win. And same goes for the people entering your funnel. They all have different intents. Hence, you should have different frameworks for everyone. So this is why we have a different framework for message requests and bio keyword people, reaching out to followers, story replies, and content convo. All of them have different frameworks, simply because all of them have different intents. And here are some pro tips for you, okay? So we follow a 4-step general framework. This is super simple and anyone can apply this. Literally, if you don't have an appointment setting process already, start with this and I promise you, you'll get a shit ton of replies and appointments, right? So the first step, okay, the first step of the first message, the only goal of that message is to get them to reply. Okay, nothing else. You don't need to qualify them in the first message. You don't need to see if they need help or anything like that. You just need to get them to reply to you, because that's the first step. If you don't get the person to reply to you, no matter what you do, it's just not going to matter because you haven't made them reply to you. So the goal of the very first message is to just get them to reply. That is it. The way we usually do first messages is something I discuss in the next step. But yeah, moving on to the second part of this framework, you need to build rapport and just soft qualify people, okay? Don't go too overboard asking, oh, what's your income? Stuff like that. No, these questions are not meant for chat, okay? People will get their guards up and you will never get a reply. So you need to take things slow. You need to do some soft qualifications, right? Maybe asking it in a different way. So instead of asking people, what's your income? Just ask them, what do you do for work, all right? So when they tell you, you can probably guess their income range from the job title, yeah? So you need to approach things differently on the chat as compared to calls, because on calls, you can actually see the person. So you can be a bit more direct, right? You can actually build a lot more rapport there, so you can be a bit more direct. But on chat, it's exactly the opposite. You've got to be very careful. And remember, guys, this is the first touch point. You haven't even spoken to them on a call yet. So if you haven't spoken to them on a call yet, you need to take things slow on the chat. So that's what you do in step 2, which is build rapport and soft qualify people. Now, don't spend a lot of time in this. You just need to do 2 or 3 questions. This is not a harsh rule that you need to just only ask 2 or 3 questions. Of course, you can ask more questions. You just need to judge the conversation, you're right? You just need to judge where it's headed. That's how you will be able to guess, okay, do I need to continue building rapport, right? If the person is a bit stiff, right, you can see he's not answering the questions well, then it's probably a good idea to just skip, right? Because I've seen people just forcing the conversation in the DMs, and guys, that's the worst thing you can do. Do not force any conversation. If the person seems non-interested, ask a question that can probably gauge if they're interested or if it's their nature, right? But if you can't, just skip the person, right? Just end the conversation. You will get a shit ton more leads if you do the steps I told you earlier, right? So all the steps I told you earlier, if you do that, you will get a shit ton of leads. So you don't have a problem in the amount of leads to reach out to, okay? So do not force any conversation. Now, once you've built rapport and soft qualified them, now you analyze their current situation and their desired situation. So you can basically find the gap. And then once you find the gap, then you ask them to book a call with you. Okay, so this is, guys, the most simplest framework anyone can ever tell you. So first, just get them to reply. Second, build rapport and soft qualify them. Third, just find their current situation, where they are right now, right? What are their problems, stuff like that. Don't go too deep into this, keep it for the sales call. And then just understand their desired situation. Ask them, like, what's stopping them from getting to their desired situation. And that's when you find the gap. Right? Now use that gap to get them on a call with you, and after they've booked a meeting, then do the post-booking convo, which I'm about to show you in the next step. All right? So yeah, that's a general framework we follow. And then the second thing you can do is, this is the first message we actually use for the client later on. So we'd use personalized first messages. Guys, these get you insane amount of replies. I can tell you that we had a stupidly high reply rate. So we had an average of 21%. And the average is 10%. It's literally double. Now, what do I mean when I say personalize the messages? Because a lot of people hear, like, you need to personalize stuff and do things like that, but no one really teaches you how, okay? This is how you do it. So what you can do is, whenever someone follows you or you want to start a conversation with them, just look at their profile, okay? Just talk about the story highlights, right? So just ask a question. So it's important that you start the conversation by asking a question that gets people to reply. I've tried, complimenting people in the DMs in the first messages, but most of the times people just kind of react to it. They just like the message or just don't really tell you anything that you can continue the conversation about, right? So what I like to do is I like to compliment them plus follow up with a question, right? That makes them think, oh yeah, this person complimented me. And then when you ask a question, that actually gets them to reply to you, right? Because now you've asked them a question, right? So follow the strategy, okay? And when it comes to, complimenting them or asking a question, you can talk about the story highlights, their bio, right? So bio is really interesting. So you can just look at their bio and see what you can talk about, right? Then their profile picture, like if they're at the beach or if they're, a really amazing place. We've used this a lot and it works like wonders. So we've asked people like where they're from, where's this picture from, stuff like that. And then story highlights is also really, really good. Like you can actually just directly reply to the story highlights and it works like wonders because now people see that you replied to their story or highlight, whatever they can see in the DMs, right? So that gets people to reply even faster. And then their comments. So for example, if they commented under your post, you can just message them about that comment they made. So you can use these things to create a personalized messages. Now, personally, what we did is we created an AI to personalize at scale, right? So we didn't have to, look over their profile, look over the profile picture, the comments, etc. Our AI technology just analyzed all of that and found out the top 5 things we can ask the person and message them, and we would just choose the one and we would just message people. So guys, if you're not using AI in your business, you're literally missing out. You're literally missing out to people who are. Okay, so you need to make sure that you are leveraging AI in your business as much as possible. And if you're a client inside the iOS program, you know how much we love AI. Like we use AI for literally everything because it's just making our lives easier. Yeah, and that's the whole point. Okay, so this was the second tip. Now the third and the last tip I have for you today related to appointment setting is funny follow-ups. Dude, like this has been the single most amazing thing about appointment setting for us, and it is so much fun, like these are an absolute game changer because here's the thing, when most people send follow-ups, they either get ignored or people just like their messages and they just leave them on read or seen, whatever, right? They don't get replies unless they are spamming them. When you are actually spamming people, you will get blocked. And trust me when I say this, you do not want to get blocked, especially on Instagram, because I've been blocked by Instagram because people reported me for my other accounts. I don't know what my bum was doing at that time. But yeah, I got reported and I couldn't create any Instagram account for like 6-ish months, right? So that had a massive impact on my business. But now I've kind of figured out a way to get back on Instagram. Hopefully it doesn't get banned again. But yeah, that's the situation, okay? So you need to make sure that whatever you send to people, just don't force it. Instagram's policies are getting strict day by day. So you need to make sure you are following those policies, okay? You're not breaking any rules, you're not getting reported. Because if you get reported multiple times, your account health is fucked. So just make sure that doesn't happen, all right? Now, a good way to make sure that doesn't happen, that people don't report you, is by making follow-ups funny, okay? Because most people ignore follow-ups and don't take them seriously. But when you actually give funny follow-ups, people have a good laugh, they love that you just, message them something funny because most of the people are having a rough day. And if you send something funny, they're probably going to reply to you because you made them smile. So definitely try this if you're not doing it already, all right? Have funny follow-ups. Do not have those boring follow-ups. Hey, just following up with you. Hey, just wanted to check in. No, this isn't 2020, guys. It doesn't work anymore, all right? This sounds extremely salesy, right? Because guess what? Everyone else in the industry uses the same follow-ups as you. So you're not going to get replies. You're just going to get lost in the herd of sheeps. Now, guys, you can have the best appointment setting frameworks, right? But if people don't show up to those appointments, you won't make a dime. So most people skip the next step and as a result have a terrible show rate. But I'm going to make sure that's not the case for you. Okay, it was the same case for a client as well, but I'm going to make sure that's not the case for you now. All right, let's get into it. Now we're on to step 7, the show up system. Okay, now look, this is what most people do, and I'm sure you can probably relate this. So most people get leads from content and outreach, right? Then the lead books a call and they go to the sales call. Yeah, all right, let me just select my marker. They just go to the sales calls. Now, What happens with this funnel, right? The problem here is they get 40 to 50% show up rates, right? Now, people might send email, text messages to fix this and remind them about the calls, but that still doesn't solve the next two problems, which is buying resistance. So people not buying on calls with you, like they're still doubtful about you and stuff like that, and unqualified calls. You still end up with unqualified calls on your calendar. People tell you, you get to the page, you get to the pricing, and they just tell you that they're broke, right? We've all been there. So this is what happens when you have this kind of system. Now, why does this happen? Because when someone books from content or ad or outreach, right, and they directly go to your sales call, you do not have the missing piece, which is a show up system. Right? You need to have a show up system between these two things. 90% of people don't have a show up system. This is why now the goal here is to basically get a 70 to 100% show up rate. And I can tell you that this is 100% achievable if you do it right. We on an average maintain a show up rate of 82 to 85%, which is pretty good considering the average is 70%. Right? Then it also helps you get no buying resistance. So the show up system I'm about to show you will help you get no buying resistance on calls. Now, this is not 100% possible. I'm just going to be honest with you. This won't remove the buying resistance by 100%, but probably by 85 to 90%. Then the qualified calls. You will make sure you're only getting qualified calls on your calendar. Now, let's get into this. So how do we create this system? So let's start with problem one, right? So which is 40 to 50% show up rates. Now, before I tell you the solution, let me explain you why people not show up, because if you can understand the why, the how is easy, right? So why do people not show up? They either don't have the time, which is their fault, right? Because if they don't have the time, they should tell you this up front, and that just means it's their fault, or they don't believe it's worth their time. Now, this is actually your fault, right? Now, your setter or yourself, if you are the one setting appointments, you need to gauge this during the setting process. Okay, you need to make sure that the prospect is actually interested in hopping on a call with you. They're not just booking for the sake of booking because you're just being forced or you're being pushy, whatever, right? You need to make sure that you set the expectations, you gauge their interest, everything during the setting process. You need to make them believe that a sales call is going to be worth their time, right? Like, why would anyone want to spend 60 minutes with you on the call? Right, out of their busy day? If you can answer that question, then you can show us how to convince the people on the chat to hop on a call with you, because it's going to be worth their time. But if you can't answer that question, you've got a problem. So this is the second reason. Now, the third reason is pretty common. They forgot about the call, which is again their fault, right? Now, the solution for each. So if they don't have the time, what you can do is send them soft call reminders and then just reschedule, okay? Now, I'm going to be very real with you here. You can't really do much here. Like if someone no-showed because they didn't really have the time, you can't really do much here. You can only politely ask them to reschedule, or just kind of show them what they missed by telling them, oh, I was about to go over X, Y, and Z about your business on the call, but I can understand something came up. So I'll be free around X, Y, and Z. Are you available? Right? Something like that. You need to make sure that you don't show the person you're chasing them. Okay? Always keep the authority. If you show the person you need the call, you need the sale, you need anything, they're going to walk right over you. Okay? And this is something you don't want. So never show the people you need them. Okay? Even though you need them, don't show it to them. Just send them soft call reminders. Usually what we do is we send around 3-ish emails, right? Before the call, and 3 DMs as well. Okay, so those are some soft call reminders we use, and the language in those emails and DMs is super casual, right? It's not salesy, it's casual. It's not salesy or pushy, it's casual. Okay, that's exactly what you need to have as well. Make sure the language is casual. Because here's the thing, when you have casual language in your emails and in your DMs, the person is going to think, oh, I'm just about to hop on a call with this really chill person. Whereas if you're using very professional language, very professional jargons and everything else, it just becomes like a sales meeting. You know what I mean? Like, it just becomes like that, and it sets the wrong tone for the call. Prospect might not open up to you that well, because think about it, like if you hop on a call with your friend, you will obviously open up with them more, right? And on the sales call, you want the prospect to open up with you, and that can only happen if they feel like they can share things with you, and that will only happen if you behave like a friend. But don't go too overboard. Like if you are super friendly, they will just think you are unserious. You'll just probably lose the sale. So don't do that. Okay, there's a very thin line between being friendly and being over friendly on sales calls. Okay, so you'll get there with experience. Now, this was the first solution, right? Now, the second solution, when they tell you that they don't believe it's worth their time, the solution for this is the nurturing convo. Okay, so basically, what you need to do in the nurturing convo. So let me first explain what is the nurturing convo. So remember, I told you the post-booking convo in the previous step. That is what it is. So after the person books a call with you, you need to have a conversation with them. You don't need to just end the conversation right there because they're booked. Now you can just open a call with them and just sell them, right? Now it doesn't work like that. You need to make sure you're continuing the conversation with them and building that relationship, okay, before the call. And this is something most people don't do, and this is why they end up with cold sales calls, okay, where the prospect is quite, rigid and they just are not opening up to you and stuff like that. Okay, this is why what we do personally and for all our clients as well, we have a nurturing convo after they book a call with us, and on the sales call we start with something funny. Okay, we start with something funny so that it kind of eases the situation, right? It breaks their pattern, like maybe they had a very bad day since the morning. So it kind of breaks that pattern a bit. So in the nurturing convo, what you're basically doing is you're gauging their interest about the call. This is important. So when the setter is making them book a call, they'll have a good idea about the prospect's level of interest because they had a back conversation with them. So they obviously know how the prospect thinks, how the prospect feels and stuff like that, right? So you need to use that to gauge their interest. So if you feel like they might not show up, right, because they're not that interested, have a long nurturing convo with them. Now, the goal of this nurturing convo is to build a relationship with them before the call starts, so they don't feel like they have to hop on a call with a stranger. You know that feeling when you have to meet someone for the very first time and they're a complete stranger to you? You kind of feel hesitated, right? You're nervous and stuff like that. You don't want that to happen with your prospect, okay? You need to make them feel like a friend, right? So they're excited about the call. They want to show up to the call, not just because they want to grow their business, but because they want to also talk to you. And this is also where female closers help a lot, right? So if you've got female closers, I'm sure your show up rates are quite high because they often want to talk to female salespeople, right? So they won't miss the call because of that specific reason. So this is a really good hack as well. We are going to implement this very soon. But yeah, that's something for you as well. All right. Now look, if they feel that way, right? If they feel like they have to hop on a call with a stranger, they might not want to hop on the call, right? Because most people are, let's be honest, they're introverts, right? No matter if they shoot content or whatever, they are introverts on the inside, okay? So you need to respect that nature and work accordingly, all right? Now look, while having this convo, they will start feeling like they know you, all right? Which increases the chances of them hopping on a call, okay? Let me just reduce the thickness for this. So yeah, this is going to increase the chances of them hopping on a call, okay? Now, for this to work, you need to make sure you're not asking any business or offer related questions, okay? So this is something a lot of people do as well. So whenever they're having this kind of conversation, they start asking about the business, like what's the offer and how's it going and stuff like that. Guys, leave that for the sales call. Okay, you don't need to talk about business at this point. You're building a relationship with them, okay? So ask them about them. Okay, not their business. Ask them where they're from. Ask them how's it like living in that country, and stuff like that, right? Just like you would talk to a normal friend, right? Talk to them like that, all right? So that's what you need to do here. Now, when it comes to this part where they forgot about the call, then again, the solution is soft call reminders. And like I said before, we usually send 3 emails and DMs before the call. And you need to make sure that you send these emails and DMs at the right timing. Okay, if you send them at the wrong timing, it's not going to work. So for example, let's say the call is in 24 hours. So an example timing could be you send the first email immediately after the call, the second email 16 to 18 hours before the call, and the third email at least 3 hours before the call. Because what happens is if you send the last email, right, the third email, just 12 hours or 24 hours before the call, their plans might still change because a lot can happen in one day, right? So you need to make sure you are sending them at the timings where the chances of them changing their plans for the call are extremely less. So this is why we use these kind of timings here, right? And in these emails and DMs, you need to be direct. Okay, don't confuse them. Don't try to be a smart here. You don't need to do that here. Just be direct, okay? Maybe add some humor to it and stuff like that, right? But just be direct, okay? Don't try to outsmart people here, right? You don't need to do that in this one, all right? So that's the problem one, right? So, and this is how you solve it. This is how you solve the 40 to 50% show up rate problem, all right? Now, after you do this, I promise you, your show up rate is definitely going to increase because it has increased for our clients, for ourselves. So I don't know why it wouldn't increase for you, right? Now, the problem two, buying resistance. Now, why do people actually have buying resistance in the first place, right? Two main reasons. They either don't trust you or they don't trust your process. Let me repeat that for you. Why do people not buy from you on the course? They either do not trust you or they do not trust your process. And you can literally think about this from your own perspective as well by just thinking about when was the last time you were on sales call and you didn't buy from the person. It was either because you didn't trust them or you didn't trust like the process or the system could bring you results, right? Those are the only two reasons why people have buying resistance. Now, the solution for this is sending them assets, 3 assets, okay, before even they hop on a call with you. And you send these assets in the very first email, okay? You basically position this email as a next step after booking a call, like you need to watch these videos before we hop on a call to make sure that things are smooth. Okay, so you send these 3 assets. Now, what are these 3 assets? So the first one is a personal or a client case study where you walk over, yourself, like how you brought XYZ results for yourself or your client, right? You need to give 2 assets, 2 personal or client case study assets. And the third asset is actually destroying all beliefs. Okay, it's about destroying all the old beliefs about your offer or your process. For example, if you sell, let's say, trading, right? So you need to destroy their old beliefs about trading. Their old beliefs could be, oh, they need to have the right strategy in place to make ridiculous amount of profits. They need to have a 90% win rate or whatever. So you need to destroy their old beliefs and install the new ones before they even hop on a call with you. And these new beliefs should be attached to your process because the goal with this specific asset is to make sure that when people hop on a call with you and you present them your solution, they're not giving you objections like, oh, I don't think this is going to work. I don't know like why this will work. Like you need to make sure that's not going to happen on the sales call. Right? So this is why you need to make sure that you send this asset before they hop on a call with you. And while I can't share the entire in-depth structure for these assets because it's reserved for our private clients, let me share a sample overview of the structure, right? Now, when it comes to the client case study, just talk about where they were before working with you. So you go over all the details, right? Then why were they stuck? Why were they stuck at that place? Right, just list out all the reasons. Then where are they now after working with you and how you help them get to where they are right now. List all the reasons, use stories, use analogies to explain this stuff, all right? Now, when it comes to your personal case study, like you're showing people the results you got, then just change it to yourself, right? So where were you before, right? Why were you stuck, right? Where you are right now and how you actually got there, right? How you actually got to where you are today. Right, list down all the steps, right? Now, this is the case study structure. Now, the destroying all belief structure, this is what you need to do. So firstly, just go over what most people think about how you help people, right? Or what most people think about your niche. It can be any of these 2 things, all right? Then you go over what you actually do. In this step, you basically just destroy all the false beliefs about you and your product. Then why you do it, and then how exactly it helps people. Now, when you explain the last step, how exactly it helps people, you need to make sure you are hitting the exact pain points of your ICP. Only then they're going to relate to this. Okay, so yeah, those are the 2 structures you can follow for creating the 3 assets. Okay, now it's important to not only send these assets, but make sure people consume them. And this can be done during the nurturing convo phase. So we instruct our setters to basically just make sure that people actually watch these assets after we send them, right? Because if they don't consume it, there's no point. Now, this is how you solve the buying resistance problem. Right? Now, for problem 3, which is getting on unqualified calls. So firstly, let me explain why you get unqualified calls, all right? It's either a content or an ad messaging problem because you attracted the wrong people into the funnel. You said the wrong things, so you attracted the wrong people. To fix that, go to step 3 again and just watch through the entire part to see how you can fix your messaging, right? Or the second part is a poor qualification strategy. You weren't probably clear in the questions and that caused you to have unqualified leads. And to fix both these problems, you can just do the solutions described in step 2, 3, and 4. Now look, this is an important note. No matter what you do, you can never, All right, I'm going to be very clear with you here because I don't want to raise any bad expectations like most creators do out there. You can never get 100% qualified leads or calls. That's just not going to happen. But you are always going to have more unqualified people than qualified people. That's just the nature of high ticket products. Like, just think about it, right? So for example, this is a Gucci store in New York. And as you already know, Gucci sells high-end products. Then there's the H&M store in New York, which sells low ticket products, right? Now, here's the math for both of these stores. So let's say Gucci gets 100 walk-ins per day and H&M also get 100 walk-ins per day. But in Gucci, because they sell high-end products, only, let's say, 10 people out of those 100 people buy. But because H&M sells cheap products, only 90 people buy. So that means Gucci has a qualified rate of 10%, right? And then 90% unqualified, but H&M has a qualified rate of 90% and 10% unqualified. So like I said before, in every high ticket scenario, in every high ticket product, you're gonna have more unqualified people than qualified ones, but the qualified ones are gonna make you a shit ton of money. So this is why Gucci is valued way more than H&M. Right? Even though 90% of people who walk into the Gucci store are probably unqualified. So this is why do not expect the leads to be 100% qualified, right? So do the steps which I outlined earlier, like have the booking questions ready and make sure the questions are direct and clear, right? But look, even after implementing the strategies I mentioned earlier, you might get people who actually lie on the booking forms because we have had this kind of people, right? Which is why we do something most people don't. We do what I call the post-booking qualifications. We not only qualify people before they book a call, we actually also qualify people after they book a call, right? Just to kind of make sure that we are hopping on calls with the right people, okay? Now this is how it works. So during the nurturing convo phase, the setter further qualifies them by asking specific questions, okay? So remember guys, this is in the nurturing convo phase, so they have already booked the call. Now, if the setter notices that they didn't lie in the booking form, that means they're qualified, okay? By asking these specific questions, the setter can gauge if they actually lied on the form or they didn't lie on the form, right? So we have a whole structure around that. If they didn't lie, that means they are qualified, right? So we just follow the existing procedure and they just hop on a call with them. But if they lied, that means they're unqualified, and you'll be amazed to see how many people actually lie on the booking forms, right? So if they're unqualified, we first figure out why they lied, right? So we can prevent it from happening in the future, and then just downsell people using our SOP. So we've got our entire detailed SOP that we give to all our setters, and they just downsell people based on that. So I definitely have the post-booking qualifications tab. If you don't have that already, it's going to help you hop on calls with actually qualified people. So that's about the show up system. That's how you create a powerful show up system, and you get 70 to 100% show up rates, no buying resistance, and qualified calls, okay? And it works with 4 steps just to recap. So you need to create 3 assets, personal case study or client case study into 2, and you need to create another asset which destroys their old beliefs and installs the new ones, right? So 2 case studies and 1 restoring the old beliefs. The second thing you need to do is have soft core reminders, which is the emails plus DMs. Make sure the conversation is natural and casual. Then you need to have the nurturing convo, which is not about business, but about them. This helps you build the relationship, so the person is not hopping on a call with a stranger, but rather a friend, which increases the chances of them hopping on a call with you and getting close. And lastly, you need to have post-booking qualification, so you actually hop on calls with qualified people, right? Because a lot of people also lie on booking forms, and this prevents that. So that's how you create a powerful show-up system. Now, to take this a step further, what you can do is make an SOP about this. This is what we have done personally. We made a SOP about this, and then we've just given it to our setters. So this is kind of how it looks. So it's an entire long document here. It covers literally everything they need to do, how they need to have a nurturing convo and handle different situations, how to make sure the person, all right, the watches the assets till the end, what to do when someone is unqualified, what to do when someone is qualified but might be lying, all the steps, right? All the steps are outlined in this SOP, right? So definitely have this for your setters so they can easily follow this. So guys, after implementing this show up system, we were having almost everyone show up. At that point, we actually needed to have the right sales system in place. And this was the last step in actually making money. Let's go over it. Okay, now moving on to step 8, the sales system. So look guys, because of all the previous steps, at this stage, the lead was super warmed, all right? So we didn't really have to create a super advanced sales system. No, we didn't need to do that, okay? Now look, if your marketing is good, it will do the selling for you, right? So you really absolutely don't need extremely advanced sales systems. There's no need of that. You just need to make sure your marketing is so on point that it does the selling for you. Now, I've myself paid people 10K plus without even hopping on calls with them, simply because they followed the previous steps I outlined earlier so perfectly. And in fact, all the successful people I know are good at sales, but not exceptional. They're exceptional at marketing, right? And that's all you need to do as well. Now, look, here's what our sales system looked like. So we first had a 15-phase call framework or a script, because my client had no sales framework before working with me. He was just hopping on calls randomly and just explaining people how the program works, and they just usually get objections. Okay, so he had no framework in place, because of which his closing rate was close to around 10 to 12%. It was pretty below average considering his price point. Your closing rate should be at least 20% or above. Okay, so this is why we had to create a 15-phase call framework and script. Now, in each phase, we were asking specific questions to move the prospect closer to making the purchase. Right now, here's what it looked like. And we created these questions by analyzing the previous calls my client had with the prospects, the conversations he had, and by researching his market. Guys, this is why it's extremely important for you to understand your market. Because once you understand your market, all these things become so much easier. All you need to do is just understand the market, and you can almost solve every problem inside a business. I know I've already said this quite a few times earlier, but it's so important, yet most people forget it, right? So this is why I'm stressing this so much. Just analyze your market, just research it, ask people, and you will get all the information you need. Now, here's how the sales framework worked. So in this, step one was to just kind of congratulate them for hopping on a call with us, and then just doing some normal introduction, right? Now, they made a decision to change their lives, guys. Okay, they made a decision to change their lives by hopping on a call with you, because they hopped on a call with you because they had a problem. Now, that problem can exponentially change their lives. So you need to make them feel it by congratulating them. Most people don't do this, okay? But it's all about the psychology. Sales, marketing, everything, almost everything inside the business is all about psychology. So you need to make people feel the type of decision they make. Because this call, it's not just a sales call, it's a call to change their fucking lives forever. Okay, and you need to make them feel that way, because the prospects will not feel that way by themselves. You need to make them feel that way, right? So you put that in that headspace, like, oh, I've made a decision to change my life forever, right? And as soon as you've done that, you then control the frame and set the agenda, okay? And it's important for you to have the control during the entire sales process, because as soon as a prospect gains authority over you, you've lost the sale. Because if they're doing all the talking, they are commanding you, they are asking you questions, you've already lost the frame, right? And in sales, frame is everything. If you don't have the frame, you don't have the sale. As simple as that. Okay? So you need to make sure you control the frame and set the agenda as soon as you're done with the introduction. Okay? Now, after that, you just ask them, why did they exactly book? Because you need to understand their motivation. Because when you understand the motivation of booking a call, it instantly becomes a call to solve their problems. Okay? Not a sales call. When they're telling you why they booked the call, they're basically telling themselves, oh, I have a problem and I want to solve it. This is why I'm on the call today. It shifts the entire perspective of this being a sales call to this being a problem-solving call. This is why it's extremely important to ask this question. Why did they book a call? Because you need to make them admit that they have a problem. Because if they don't have a problem, why are you even on a call with them? Now, once they've admitted they have a problem, then you need to understand where they are right now in their business, okay, or in their lives. If you're selling, let's say, a health-based offer, where they are in their fitness journey and stuff like that. You get the point. Okay, in here, also ask questions that tell you if they have the money. I know we already qualified them a lot before the sales call, but this is like the final qualification question. And we do this early in the call, so you don't end up wasting the entire sales call and then just figuring out they're unqualified. Okay, so in this step, you can also ask them questions that tell you if they have the money. But you need to dig deep into their situation, bring out the pain and call style when doing this. Okay, because guys, when there is no pain, there is no sale, right? So you need to just dig as much deep as possible in their situation. Just keep on asking them why, what, how, and when questions. Okay, so why do they feel like they're stuck? What have they done to fix that? When are they going to make the decision to fix it? Stuff like that, right? So just put why, what, how, and when. These 4 things before anything, and you will get a new question. This is a technique I teach all my salespeople, and you can follow it too, and you will never run out of questions. Okay. So dig deep into their situation, bring out their pain, and then cause doubt. You need to make them think, oh, can I even achieve this myself? Because if they believe that they can achieve the outcome themselves, they're not going to buy from you. Okay, and I'm going to talk more about it in just a minute, right? But after you've digged deep into their situation, you know their pain points, you know their problems, then you need to understand where they want to be. Okay, you've got to understand both these things. You need to understand where they're at right now, then you need to understand where they want to go, right? So you can figure out the gap and then use it to sell during the presentation. And guys, you don't need to go too deep into this step because pain is more powerful than desire, okay? So it will be just fine if you just ask only 1 or 2 questions related to where they want to be, because pain is more important. Spend most of your time right here, okay? Not here. Okay, but still you need to understand where they want to be. Now, after you've understood where they want to be, then you need to make them admit that they can't get there on their own. Because if they don't admit this, they won't buy, period. If they feel like that they can do it, they've got the resources, they've got the knowledge, they've got everything that they need to have in order to get to where they want to go, then they will not buy, right? They're just here on the call to kind of understand what you do, etc. They're not here to buy. So you need to make them admit that they can't get there on their own. Now, once they've admitted that, then you go into asking for permission to explain how we can fix their problems and reach their goals, right? Now, basically here, what we are doing is we're asking for their permission to pitch them. Most people don't do it. Most people are like, oh, okay, now I've understood your situation, so let me explain how it goes, okay? Bro, they haven't asked you to explain it, okay? Even though they're on the sales call to kind of learn more about your program, but when you ask for permission from the prospect, right? Kind of saying like, can I pitch you? They're like, their guards are down, right? Because they have now given you the permission to do so, okay? So basically they're allowing us to help them here. We're not selling here, we are helping them, and they have allowed us to help them. Now, after they've said to you, oh yeah, you can explain it, whatever, then you go into explaining the program. And I'll go over this in just a minute because I've got an entire new section about this. So yeah, then you explain the program, and after you're done explaining the program, you just go over the benefits and stuff like that. Then you do the temperature check. Most people skip this part, okay? They just go into straight away telling them the price after they explain the program, but don't do that, okay? You need to check their temperature, okay? Now, what do I mean when I say check their temperature? You need to kind of gauge where they're at with the program. This is where you uncover all their real objections, which they will probably give you after you present the price, okay? But you prevent that from happening by doing the temperature check. Here, you need to see how they feel about the program. Do they actually believe that what you just showed them can help them get their results? If you sense even a bit of hesitation, dig deep into it. Dig deep into why the hesitation, right? Then solve it right then and there before presenting the price. Guys, if you uncover all the objections here, which you will if you do this right, then after you present the price, the only objection they will give you is the price objection, right? If they give you the objection, that's the only objection that I will be. Okay, and you can also prevent that by doing the money mat strategy, which I'm going to go over in just a minute. But yeah, you need to make sure that after you explain about the program, you do the temperature check, okay, to see where the prospect is at about your process, about your program, about you. Do they even trust in you? All right, you need to check all these things out before even presenting the price. After you've done that, simply just present the price. And guys, you need to understand that if you're not confident in presenting the price, people will sense that. You might think that they won't sense it, but they will. And they will then try to negotiate or just, probably not buy from you because they can see that you're not that confident. So they will walk right over you. Right? This is why you need to be very, very confident and nonchalant when presenting the price. And if you are not naturally confident, then that just means you're scared because you're charging too much. That's just in your head though. But For the start, what you can do is just lower the price. The best price to charge is the price you're the most comfortable presenting. Even if it's just $3,000, charge that if you're the most convicted when presenting it, right? You can increase the price slowly, but you need to make sure you have that conviction on sales calls. You can either fake that conviction, but still people might see through it, or you can actually just have the right conviction by lowering down the price and then increase the price as you get more confidence in your product, in your service, everything. Okay, but be confident and nonchalant when presenting the price. Now, after you've done that, just shut up. Most people just keep talking about, oh, you're still going to get these benefits and everything like that. They're just kind of trying to justify the price. Guys, the justification happens when you explain about the program. It doesn't happen after you present the price. Okay, and it can still happen after you present the price by doing the money match strategy, but you need to be very, very careful when you're justifying the price, because most people sound pushy. Most people sound like, they want to protect their pricing. I don't know, for some reason, it just feels that way. I've had sales calls where people pitched me something and they were just trying to kind of prevent me from thinking the price is too high by going over a bit of their benefits and everything else. And I could see that they were not confident in presenting the price as well, right? So this is why you need to be very careful when you're justifying the price. But in most cases, you just need to shut the hell up and let them do the calculations in their head, let them run any different scenarios in their head, because that's what people are doing when you present the price. Okay, so you need to give them time to think it. Right? Silence is the most powerful weapon here. Use it wisely. All right. Now, after you shut up, they're either going to say yes, or they're just going to start giving you objections, right? From here, you just handle the objection. And like I said before, at this point, they will only, probably in most cases, only have the price objection, okay? Which we overcome by implementing the money mat strategy. Now, the money mat strategy is a strategy which makes them see the value of investing with us. Because guys, here's the thing. When you're charging high prices or any prices, you need to make people understand that why should they even pay that price? Why? Like, what are they even getting for that price, which they can't get elsewhere, right? If you can make them understand this by showing some sort of money math, some sort of calculations, like how much they can make and stuff like that, they will justify the price themselves. You need to make it look like your price is so less compared to what they're getting that they don't even have second thoughts about it. Okay, so that's what the money match strategy is all about. Now, after you've handled the objections, if you did it right, they're just going to buy, okay? And after they buy, you just do the onboarding. So that's how this 15-step sales framework works, right? And after we implemented this, my client's closing rate just skyrocketed. We were closing at 71%. Can you believe that? And that is on inbound leads, and on outbound, we were doing 65%. It's fucking nuts, guys. It's fucking nuts. And you can just also see a screenshot where the client admitted that his closing rate increased. So yeah, that's what happens when you have the right sales framework in place, right? Now, the next step is having an offer pitch doc. So remember when I told you I'm going to explain it over in a minute. So this is what it is, all right? So when you are explaining about the program, just have something what I call the offer pitch doc, okay? Because here's what happens. When most people explain about the program, this is how they do it. They just verbally explain all the details about the program, and they often miss important points or just give too much info that the prospect is extremely confused. And most of the people are not good at improvising. Okay, most people aren't. So this approach doesn't work for them. And as a result, prospects get confused because they can't see the info visually. And then they just misjudge your program's effectiveness, and eventually you just lose the sale. Okay, so to prevent this from happening, what you need to do is have an entire document that goes over all the details about your program. And in that document, you need to attach the features with the benefits. Don't just go over the features, explain their benefits so they can actually see the value behind it, right? So you need to show them how it helps them. This is why when you are actually doing this step where you're understanding where they are right now and where they want to be, you need to pay utmost attention, because if you don't, you will not be able to explain this clearly to the prospect. Okay, now in this offer document, we visually explain the program. So basically adding images of what they will get right after they invest with us, because when people see what they're going to get, they get excited. Okay, and that's the effect you want to have. Right now, in this document, we basically create 3 to 5 phases, and just kind of explain how each phase helps them fix a problem. And then at the end, you just back it up with proof. So this is kind of like the structure we follow. So phase one, right? Then you go over the problem, which is the most common problem. And when you're explaining this, just personalize it according to their problem, because obviously you can't know their problems before hopping on a call with them, at least not that deeply. So you need to personalize it on the spot. And then you go over the solution, then you go over the benefit. And it's important that you keep this concise. This entire thing should be done within like 10 to 15 minutes max. Okay, so you need to make sure you keep it concise. Now, because of this offer pitch document, prospects don't get confused because they can see everything, right? You or your closer don't forget important points because everything is written inside this offer document. And to make operations smoother, what we did is we created an AI to design this document. Now, every time we onboard a new client, we just use this AI to design this doc, and then we make it personalized to the prospect so they feel it's made for them. Right? All of it is done through AI. Now, the third thing that is included in our sales system is the training and feedback. Because the thing is, you can't become good at sales by just memorizing a framework. It doesn't work like that. Sales is in theory, right? So sales is something which requires constant feedback. Okay, and here's exactly what we did when it came to training and feedback. So we do training calls inside our program, and that's what we did for our client as well. We trained him on sales one-on-one, and then after every call he or his closer had, we gave video or text feedback in the sales tracking sheet. So as you can see in the screenshot, we gave in-depth feedback for each and every call. This made sure that the person closing on the sales call is well equipped with the knowledge they need to have on sales calls. They understand what they did wrong, what they did right, and then they can improve the things they did wrong on the next call, right? So if you're not doing this already, definitely do this. If you don't have a closer, what you can do is in your sales tracking sheet, just create a new column that says, feedback or call notes or anything like that. And then after your every call, you can just write down each of the things you did right and each of the things you did wrong, right? Now, if you're not experienced in sales, you're probably not going to know what is right and what is wrong. So that's why it helps to get a mentor as well. Now, after we did the training and feedback, the client literally just closes right after just one training call with me. So as you can see in the screenshot, he closes someone for 5K revenue. That is the third part of the sales system. And the last part, which is not the most important one, but it's still something we did. So we created the payment received Discord automations, because before this, we were always, manually checking if we got the payment from the prospect on the sales calls, right? And it was extremely problematic because when paid to crypto, we had to check a couple of things, right? So it was really time consuming and we had to make the prospects wait on the call. And this also increases the chances of buyer's remorse. To prevent this, what we did is we created payment received Discord automations, which look something like this. So whenever we received a payment, a Discord notification popped up in the server so that the closers, the team, everyone could see it, right? And this helped us save a ton of time on sales calls, plus notify everyone in the team. And when you see payment notifications and everyone sees that in your team, they get motivated. They get even more excited to work for you, right? So this helped us a ton. Now, at this stage, we were helping them make a lot of sales, right? But in order to keep making them, we needed tracking systems in place, which is the final step. All right, now let's go over the last step, step 9, okay, which is tracking and optimizing. Now guys, 95% people do not have this system, and no wonder why most people stay stuck. It's simply because they don't know when they need to make what type of decision. If you don't have that much clarity on the decisions you need to make and when you need to make them, you're moving blindly. But this system fixes that. So we basically track for two main things in our business and in our clients' businesses. We track for generating more revenue, and then we track for smoother operations. And when it comes to tracking for generating more revenue, we track 4 key things. Every successful info business is built on this data. Okay, it's appointment tracking, sales tracking, ads tracking, and content tracking. These are the 4 main things you need to track if you run an info online coaching business. When it comes to appointment tracking, you need to know certain things. So for example, how many appointments did you generate? Which platform generated the most appointments and stuff like that. So we have our entire tracking sheet that tracks literally every single thing. So I couldn't really upload the full screenshot of this entire sheet, but you can see some basic columns, right? So first message sent, first message reply, positive reply, qualified, every single detail. As for sales, Similarly, you need to track how many sales did you generate, right? Which platform generated the most sales? When you have this kind of data, decisions become easy. You no longer need to research on what's the best marketing strategy. Well, it's the one that got you the most appointments, right? And you can know that by looking at the data, right? What's the best sales script? Well, you can know that by looking at your sales, which sales script generated the most amount of sales, and that is the best script for you, right? So when you have this data, a lot of things, like 99% of the things become easy. Now for ads, so which ads are the most profitable? What is the cost per lead? What is the cost per call? What is the cost per sale? These are the three most important metrics you can have when you're running ads. So here's an example of our ads tracking sheet, and this is specifically for follower ads. We have a different tracking sheet and a software for VSL ads, but we usually just track follower ads with the Google Sheet. So we track the ad spend, the profile views, the cost per profile view, the number of leads we got, the cost per lead or follow, qualified leads, cost per qualified lead, bookings, cost per booking closes, cost per close, revenue, ROAS, like all the details you need to make a right decision, we track that. Okay, and that's what you need to do as well if you want to grow a successful online coaching business. When you know what's your cost per lead, you can accordingly dedicate the budget to ads, right? When you know what's your cost per booking, which is the most important metric out of these, you can understand, okay, if I'm lacking on appointments, so let's say your cost per booking, right? Your cost per booking is like $100 on average. And then if you are struggling to book appointments sometime later down the road, you know that you can just spend $100 and get an appointment booked. This level of data gives you utmost clarity on what you need to do. And guys, when you have clarity, you can actually move and grow your business with peace. When it comes to the content, you need to know which video brought in the most views, subscribers, sales calls, and sales. Because most people, when it comes to content, they're just guessing. They're just playing the guessing game, right? They don't know which videos are performing the best. They don't know which video has brought them the most amount of appointments. And then they wonder, oh, should I create this type of video? Should I create this type of video? They just keep guessing. But this fixes that. Okay? This is why you need to have a content tracking system in place as well. Once you track all these four things, you will be able to generate more revenue. Okay, and if you want an in-depth tracking video on our tracking systems, just let me know in the comments. I'll shoot something for you guys. All right, now when it comes to tracking for smoother operations, we do team tracking and clients tracking. Because guys, when you track what's going on with your team, which team member is performing the best, who's not performing, who should we promote or fire, right? That gives you an overview of your team performance, which is extremely important if you're going to build a team. Because you can have like 2 members, 3 members, but if you don't have the data on which member is performing the best, which member is not performing, why are they not performing, and all the other stuff, you will be basically burning money on bad team members. This makes sure that you only have the right team members in your team. And I already explained to you the importance of having the right people on your team. Yeah. Now, same goes for the clients. So basically, you need to understand which client is making you the most money. And this works wonders when you have an offer system. So an offer system consists of 4 main things: the attraction offer, the downsell offer, the upsell offer, and the continuation offer. And if you've read $100 million money models, you know what I'm talking about, yeah? So if you've got multiple offers stacked like that, and when I say multiple offers, I don't mean multiple offers for multiple people, multiple segments, multiple price points. No, it's not like that. It's the same one offer, but broken down into multiple parts. That's what an offer system is made up of. Now, which client is getting the best results? So when you have all this data, you can basically make decisions accordingly. So for example, if client John is making you the most money, you can look at what are you exactly selling to him. Again, works wonders if you have an offer system, so you can see which offer is making you the most money. Then you can just scale down on that specific offer, right? Which client is getting the best results? Once you understand this information, you can use the stuff you are implementing for that specific client to all the other clients to get them the similar results. Once you have this kind of data, it makes your life so much easier. But guys, tracking is only the first step. The next step is actually optimizing. So what is optimizing, first of all? In simple English, it's making something that's not working work. So let's say you're not booking enough appointments because your current appointment setting system is not working, right? And let's just say this is your current appointment setting system. So you gain the follower, right? You message the follower, you get a positive reply, you find their problem, then you send them an asset solving that specific problem. From there, you continue the conversation and the setter continues to set an appointment with them, right? So let's just say this is your current appointment setting system. Now, considering this example, how do you make something that's not working work? Here's how. First and most important step is to set your offer KPIs. Now, what are KPIs? Key performance indicators. They tell you how much of something do you need to achieve. This is why it's important. So people say, I have a good booking rate, I have a bad booking rate. Dude, how do you even know if it's good or bad if you don't know your KPIs? Let's say your booking rate is 11%. How do you know if it's good or bad if you don't know your KPIs? How do you know that? You don't. So this is why it's important that you set your offer KPIs, and here's how you need to do that. Now, when I say set your offer KPIs, that means you need to set them on your own. Because look, each KPI is kind of made up, right? No one knows what's right or what's wrong. So what I recommend is doing this, right? So first, you look at the industry average KPIs. So industry average KPI for cost per call, for booking rates and all that stuff, right? So you look at your industry, see what's common in your industry, write that down. Then just customize them based on your offer. Then lastly, consult a mentor. So for example, if the industry average booking rate is 10%, right, but your offer is twice as more expensive as the industry average offer, then for you, the booking rate should be around 5%. So all you need to do is just customize based on your offer. And again, in this situation, hiring a mentor really helps because they can tell you based on their experience what's the best KPI for you. Now, if you're not hitting that KPI, there's a problem. How do you fix this problem? Let me explain. Now, before I actually explain that, I just want to cover something really quick as well, because this is a mistake most people make when calculating rates and stuff like that. It's really important that you use the right formula. Most of the people, probably you do it as well right now. So many people calculate their closing rate like this. They look at the tracking sheet and see the number of sales they made and the number of calls they booked. Then use this formula, number of closes divided by number of calls booked into 100. In this formula, you basically just take into account the people who booked the call, but you don't look at the people who actually showed up and were pitched. So basically, you are giving yourself the wrong data, because of which you're going to get the wrong output and you're going to make the wrong decision. So this is the right formula. Number of closes divided by number of people pitched multiplied by 100. And why do we take number of people pitched? Because simply you cannot close someone before pitching them. So you need to pitch them, and you will not pitch everyone because you might get people on calls who are still not qualified. So it's important that you only take into account the people who are actually qualified, because that's the people you will actually pitch. There is no point in including everyone when calculating the closing rate. So number of closes divided by number of people pitched multiplied by 100, right? So this is the right formula for the closing rate. Similarly, there are other formulas for other types of rates, which you can probably figure out yourself. But yeah, this is extremely important. Use the right formulas to get the right data and make the right decision. Yeah. Now, when it comes to fixing this problem, right? So if you're not hitting your KPIs, there's a problem. So here's how you fix it. So first, you understand where the problem is, because you're doing a lot of steps before someone books a call. So as you can see, this is the end, but you are messaging the person, you're getting a positive reply, you're finding the problem, you're sending them the essay, you're continuing the conversation. So basically, you're doing 5 things before someone books a call. Okay, so you need to first understand where the problem is. And how do you do that? Simple. By reverse engineering the entire process. Now, how do you reverse engineer? You need to first make sure you're tracking each and every step, okay? Each and every step. Because in most cases, it's not the system that's not working. So you probably think because you're not booking enough appointments, your current appointment setting system is bad, right? In most cases, it's not the system that's not working. It's just one step of the system which causes the entire system to break. It's important you find that step. Otherwise, you'll end up recreating the entire system. Guys, take it from me, I've made this mistake tons of times, wasting money, time and effort. So for example here, any of these steps could be the problem, which might cause you to think that the entire system is broken. Now, let me quickly explain this by showing you this table. So for example, these are your first steps, right? Not the first steps, but your steps. First message, you send the first message, the positive replies, customer positive replies, people who had a problem, right? People who were sent the asset, and people who booked an appointment after the asset was sent. So these are all the steps involved in the setting system, right? Now, what this helps track is the first message reply rate. What this helps track is a positive reply rate. And people who had a problem, right? So people who showed that they had a problem, that will help you qualify them, right? Like if they're even qualified, because a lot of people follow you, but they might not certainly need help at that specific point of time. So this helps you qualify the people who actually need help. Then people who send the asset, so the asset sending rate, then people who booked in appointments, and which will be asset to appointment booking rate. Now, if the first message is below your KPI, say you want to get at least 10% replies on first messages, but if it's below that, that means your first message is the problem. Okay, experiment more with it. What it doesn't mean is your entire appointment system is not working because you haven't even gotten the chance to move people to the next step. Okay, so if you are not booking enough appointments, you first look at the first message reply rate, right? You see if it's below 10% or above 10%. If it's above 10%, then you move on to the next step, right? If it's below 10%, that means that is your problem, right? That's all you need to fix first. Then once that is fixed, then you move to the next step and do the same thing. Then, for example, let's say your positive reply rate should be at least 50%. So if your positive reply rate is below 50%, that means the positive reply rate is the problem. So you need to basically change what you say in your first message to get positive replies, right? So like I wrote here, your first message is the problem. Experiment more with it because what you're saying in the first message is something that people don't like. Now, this is the problem, not your entire appointment setting system. So let's say your first message reply rate is 12%, but your positive reply rate is 30%. That means that this is the problem, okay? Your first message is not the problem. Your entire appointment setting system is not the problem. This is the problem, okay? Now, same goes for the qualified lead rate. So if your qualified lead rate is below your KPIs, that means your content or ad or wherever the followers are coming from is the problem, okay? You're saying something that's attracting the wrong people. That means you need to make better content and ads, right? So just go back to step 3 where I explain all about messaging and positioning. Now, if your asset sending rate is below KPI, that means what you're saying after they tell you they have a problem is the problem, okay? So you need to improve your setting process. You need to train your setters better to make sure that they're communicating correctly. So basically all you need to do here is say whatever you need to say in a different way and position the asset as a solution to the problem. Most people, when sending these content assets, they position them as like a free resource or stuff like that. Yes, people do love free stuff, but when you position it as if it's going to solve their problem, they more tend to engage with it, right? That's all you need to do here. Now, if your asset to appointment booking rate is low, then that means either the asset or what you're saying after sending the asset is the problem. So all you need to do is fix that, nothing else. Okay, so that's how you basically go step by step. So you look back at each step you took, set KPIs for each step, then find the step that doesn't hit the KPI, and then take the measures to fix that step and hit the KPI. And if it's fixed, congratulations, your entire system is fixed. Right? Now, the next logical step from there would be to scale that system. But let's say it's not fixed. That's when you need to keep experimenting like a scientist. Do this till you find something that works and you hit the KPI. So let's say your first message is the problem. So keep sending different first messages until you get a 10% reply rate. And when you're experimenting, it's important to give things time to work, right? Most people don't give things time to work. It's important to have a testing duration or a size. So for example, let's say you're testing out first messages. So instead of just sending 10 or 20 first messages and judging performance of the first messages based off that, send at least 100 first messages before determining if they hit the KPI or not. Okay, you need to have a sample testing size or a sample testing duration. So that's how you basically optimize stuff. And with that, we've completed all the 9 steps. So guys, this is how we helped him generate $130,750 in under 180 days without his input. Just to kind of recap things. So step 1 was offer recreation, where we recreated his entire offer system. Then step 2 was creating 100K funnel, because if you don't bring people into a funnel, you've no way of converting them. Then step 3 is to actually bring traffic to this funnel. So this is why we created the Instagram and YouTube ecosystem. Then step 4, we added low cost ads because we wanted results fast. Then in step 5, we built out his entire growth trial, which is an appointment setter, a closer, and a VA by following our 11-step hiring process. Now, because we had an appointment setter, we needed an appointment setting framework. So that's what we did in step 6. Now, after we started booking appointments, we needed to make sure that those appointments actually show up. This is why we ended up creating a show up system. Now, after people showed up, we needed to sell them, obviously, right? But you can't just sell people randomly. So you need to have a system in place that actually sells them, right? This is why in step 8, we created the sales system. Then in step 9, because we were making sales, we just needed to make sure that we were making consistent sales. We needed to make sure that we can scale this thing. This is why we created tracking systems to basically track every single metric you can think of and optimize the things that were not working. And this is, in a nutshell, how we helped them generate over 130K in under 180 days. And guys, I disclosed as much as I could in this video, but just so you know, we did a lot more in the backend, like a lot more. And if I included every little detail in this video, it would have been 10 hours long. I think right now the video is like 2-ish hours from what I can guess. But yeah, it would have been extremely long if I included every goddamn detail. That said, I really hope you got some valuable insights from this video. And if you want similar results for yourself, no matter where you are in your business right now, then click the first link in the description. You're going to watch a video that's going to explain how our iOS framework works and how we can implement it for you to help you get similar results. So yeah, that's pretty much it from my end, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, peace.